Chapter 23. Li Tianqing didn't know what Li Zhongjio had given Li Changjiang. However, when he saw Li Changjiang leave in a huff, it seemed that Li Changjiang had something to say. He seemed to be holding something in his chest. His whole person seemed to have become gloomy. Although Li Tianqing was puzzled, he didn't ask anything. He just sighed and stared at Li Zhongjio in front of him. "Kid, you're all grown up now. Do you really think you can do whatever you want with the identity of the young master? I heard that you bypassed me and directly mobilized the family's combat power," Li Tianqing said in a deep voice. Li Zhongjio thought that Li Tianqing was here to stop him, but who knew that Li Tianqing's next sentence would surprise Li Zhongjio. Even if you want to mobilize so many people, you should at least do it secretly. If you make such a big fuss, they will definitely know that you're going to start a war. Then, you won't be able to launch a sneak attack. Li Tianqing said. "What? You agree to start a war?" Li Zhongjio looked at Li Tianqing in surprise. The Sun family is ambitious and has long wanted to annex our Li family. They didn't have any hope in the past, but now, there are internal problems in our Li family, and they have an opportunity to take advantage of it. Originally, I wanted to deal with the internal problems first before dealing with the Sun family. However, your actions have pushed all my plans forward, Li Tianqing said with a heavy heart. Internal problems. Obviously, Li Tianqing had long been aware of it, but now wasn't the time. If he acted hastily, it might really ruin the plan. Everything must be prepared? Indeed, it must be prepared. However, Li Zhongjio smiled slightly. "Father, don't worry. They won't be able to jump around for long. Young master, the herbs from the Spirit Pill Hall are here. Here is the key to the alchemy building. Elder Jiu Yen asked me to send them together." Two guards came forward with a ring in their hands. It was an interspatial ring, and there was also a key. These guards were also Li Gui's subordinates. Now that Li Gui was busy recruiting people, he asked these guards to send the items over. Good, just in time. He didn't expect the Spirit Pill Hall to be so fast. Brat, you actually managed to convince this Elder Juyen to give you the entire alchemy building. Interesting. Li Tianqing was also very surprised to see this scene. As the alchemy elder, Li Juyen did not have any real power. His only responsibility was to focus on alchemy. However, the alchemy hall disciples under Li Juyen were practically the mainstay of the Li family. Hence, Elder Li Juyen's influence was also extremely great. If he was unhappy, then even if the head of the Li family came, it would be useless. This alchemy complex was Li Juyen's treasure. It was basically impossible for ordinary people to borrow his alchemy complex to refine pills. Li Tianqing was surprised that Li Zhongjio was able to get the key. "You come with me too," Li Zhongjio said to Lin Song. The two of them bid farewell to Li Tianqing and the others and went to the alchemy pavilion. "You are the peak leader of Long Herb Peak. It shouldn't be a problem for you to assimilate these herbs, right?" In the alchemy pavilion, Li Zhongjio said to Lin Song, who was beside him. "I haven't done it for half a year. I'm a little rusty, but it shouldn't be a problem." "All right, refine all these herbs into medicinal liquid." Li Zhongjio did not stand on ceremony. After he finished speaking, he closed his eyes to rest and adjust his aura. Lin Song also threw these herbs into the cauldron in front of him. There were layers in the cauldron where the herbs could be placed. After the herbs were refined by the fire, they would become medicinal liquid and drip down from the cracks at the bottom of the cauldron. The alchemist would then classify the herbs according to the difficulty of the refinement. Boom! Lin Song's dense yuan power was instantly injected into the cauldron. It directly heated the cauldron until it turned red. Soon, a flame jumped at the bottom of the cauldron. It boiled and rushed into the cauldron. Lin Song was shocked when he felt the change in front of him. "I didn't expect that there would be a fire array hidden in the Li family. No wonder the Li family could continue refining pills for so long." Time flew by. As the sun set, the moon gradually rose. Li Zhongjio and Lin Song were still busy in the alchemy pavilion. However, in the Sun family, the head of the Sun family, Sun Jingla, saw elder Sun Qiu being carried back. Even his tongue was cut off and thrown on the road. This was equivalent to giving the Sun family a hard slap in the face. In his rage, Sun Jinlei also smashed a table to pieces with a slap. Head, our men have received news that the Li family seems to be gathering people. What a Li family, to be so brazen. Good, I want to see how much you can stop my Sun family. Sun Jinlei also immediately issued an order, intending to gather all the experts of his family back. Master Wang Lu, if the Li family is not willing to hand over the items in 3 days, my Sun family will definitely massacre them. Wang Lu, who was sitting beside him, closed his eyes and did not speak. As his most outstanding disciple, Chang Feng's spirit seemed to have been dealt a huge blow by Li Zongjio. He seemed to be on the verge of going crazy. This made Wang Lu very unhappy. Therefore, Wang Lu decided that not only would he obtain the grade 3 pill formula, but he would also exterminate the Li family. Sun Jinglei wasn't sure what Wang Lu was doing. Suddenly, he saw Wang Lu open his eyes, and the corner of his mouth hooked up into a smile. Brother Mu Yuan, you're finally here. As soon as he finished speaking, the candles in the room seemed to sway. Sun Jinglei frowned, and suddenly his eyes widened. His entire body seemed to tremble slightly, and he felt a bone-chilling cold on his back. Ha, Brother Wang Lu, long time no see. It's rare for you to think of an old friend like me. Soon after, Sun Jinglei was shocked to find that an old man in a green robe had appeared beside him. He picked up a cup of tea from the table and casually grabbed a handful of fruits and stuffed them into his mouth. I'm starving to death. Brat, tell your men to prepare some food and wine for me. The person pushed Sun Jinglei out. At this moment, a large number of guards rushed in from outside the house, ready to take down the old man. The Sun family was heavily guarded. How could they let a person break in so easily? However, Sun Jinglei raised his hand. Don't move. Stand down. Sun Jinglei carefully looked at the person in front of him. So it's Senior Mu Yuan. It's an honor to meet you. Chapter 24. Mu Yuan. The person in front of him, who had one foot on the chair, looked extremely sloppy, like a beggar on the street. He was actually the famous assassin, Mu Yuan, who had enjoyed a reputation within 1,000 miles of this place. It was said that Mu Yuan only had one principle. Pay him and he would do it, no matter what kind of dirty business it was. Of course, Mu Yuan's price was also very high. At the same time, Mu Yuan would only accept one person's request during this mission. For example, if you paid Mu Yuan to kill someone, but the target wanted to pay twice the price to not kill him, Mu Yuan would refuse. However, you could pay more and let Mu Yuan kill the person who hired him. If that was the case, Mu Yuan was very willing. Most of the time, Mu Yuan would first kill the target of the mission, and then return to kill the buyer of the mission. Therefore, for this eccentric assassin, many people were unwilling to deal with him. There was only one reason why he could still be so carefree after killing so many people. This Mu Yuan was an expert at the general level. General level? Even the Sun clan would not be able to invite such a powerful person to help them. If such a person came, they would have to treat him like an ancestor. If a general level expert was angry and prepared to start a killing spree, there would be very tragic consequences. Kid, you have some eyesight. Mu Yuan praised Sun Jinglei. I saw that female guard outside earlier. She looks pretty good, and I like her very much. Tonight, I would like to have a chat with her and have a heart-to-heart talk. The corner of Mu Yuan's mouth curled into an evil smile. When Sun Jinglei heard this, he quickly went through this in his mind and replied with a smile. Senior Mu Yuan, don't worry. I will arrange it right away. Sun Jinglei left. When he left, his face became extremely gloomy. Ask Sun Sanyang to come over. Sun Jinglei said in a deep voice. Hearing the family head's words, the guard's face changed because he had also heard Mu Yuan's words. But family head, Sanyang's husband, just passed away. This Sun Sanyang wasn't a disciple of the Sun family. She was married to a disciple of the Sun family. Later on, during an operation, the disciple of the Sun family died in battle. Since they were brothers, he had to protect his sister-in-law. However, Sun Jinglei was actually asking Sun Sanyang to do such a thing. Go. If we can't entertain this person today, my Sun family will definitely perish. But if we succeed, then even if it's only a short period of 2 days, we'll definitely be able to become the #1 clan in Sunset City. Inside the room, Mu Yuan wiped the oil off his mouth and grinned. Hee hee, I owed you a favor 2 years ago. Today, Grandmaster Wang Lu, do you want me to return this favor? That's right. 3 days later, I have a competition with someone. At that time, I need you to help me get something. Wang Lu said. If it was not necessary, Wang Lu would not deal with such a person. He had no other choice. Don't worry, Grandmaster Wang Lu. Hee hee, I'll get you whatever you want in this Sunset City. The Li family. Li Zongjio carefully stared at the alchemy furnace in front of him. The heavenly void divine image was running in his body. At this moment, the alchemy process was taken over by Li Zongjio. Lin Song could only sit aside and help to look after the fire. The one who was in control of the overall situation was Li Zongjio. There seems to be a very strange force in this kid's body. Lin Song stared at Li Zongjio in front of him. At this moment, Li Zongjio was completely immersed in the alchemy process. His fire control technique is so skillful. Even I can't compare to him. In Li Zongjio's hands, he was able to control each wisp of flame to an exquisite degree. Every wisp of flame was integrated into the medicinal liquid. The flames from the same hand could actually control different temperatures. Suddenly, Lin Song's eyes widened as he looked at Li Zongjio's body. At this moment, a white aura was being released. Boom! Suddenly, a white shadow seemed to fly out from Li Zongjio's body and landed on the alchemy furnace, hovering above it. This is White Dragon. White Dragon Original Spirit. When Lin Song saw this scene, he was so scared that he almost knelt down to worship. To be able to possess the power of original spirit, one was already a genius among geniuses. People like Li Zongjio who were born with original spirit were already top geniuses. Looking at Li Zongjio's original spirit again. It was the legendary White Dragon Original Spirit. In the legend of alchemists, White Dragon was the ancestor of divine pills. It had only been heard of but never seen. No one knew what kind of effect it had. White Dragon Original Spirit, the ancestor of alchemy. In the future, this kid's alchemy realm will definitely reach the peak. Now Lin Song somewhat understood where Li Zongjio's confidence came from. He even dared to make him his slave. A person who possessed a natural original spirit would definitely have an extraordinary path in the future. But I'm very curious. What kind of effect does this White Dragon Original Spirit have? Lin Song thought in his heart. Then he carefully observed Li Zongjio's actions. The medicinal liquid in the alchemy furnace had already begun to take shape, and Li Zongjio's original spirit seemed to be insufficient. Just as Lin Song was about to take action, he realized that the power of White Dragon suddenly poured into the half-formed elixir, directly activating the elixir that had yet to take shape. In such an environment, the elixir condensed very well and was extremely condensed. The elixir is done. Lin Song thought in his heart. When the power of White Dragon poured into the elixir, Li Zongjio felt more relaxed. Suddenly, Li Zongjio opened his eyes and slammed his palm on it. Buzz! The alchemy furnace shook. The lid suddenly flew away. From the alchemy furnace, there was a strong aura. When the fluctuation of the elixir spread out, the flames in the entire alchemy building could not help but jump. This elixir fragrance. When Lin Song felt the fluctuation, he immediately jumped up in shock. Fortunately, the alchemy building itself had a seal. This elixir fragrance could not spread out and could only stay in the alchemy building. Grade 3. Grade 3 elixir. Lin Song's eyes were filled with shock. Li Zongjio stretched out his hand and released his original spirit, grabbing the 3 elixirs in his hand. The corner of his mouth raised into a smile. Although the refining of the elixir this time had almost exhausted Li Zongjio's original spirit, it was a good thing that he succeeded. You can actually refine grade 3 elixirs. Lin Song looked at Li Zongjio in front of him in shock. At such a young age, he was already a 3rd-grade alchemist. If he grew up in the future, he would be even more powerful. My technique is still a little rough. My cultivation is still a little lacking. Li Zongjio could not help but shake his head. Although he succeeded, the quality could only be considered average. It was really damaging to his reputation as an alchemist saint. However, in Lin Song's eyes, this sentence was completely said for the sake of showing off. What elixir is this? Lin Song's nose twitched. Even if it was just a light sniff of the elixir fragrance, he could feel the original spirit in his body becoming restless. Grade 3 Elixir, Tiger Vitality Amplification Elixir. Chapter 25. Tiger Energy Amplification Pill. It was a primary grade 3 pill. After swallowing it, one would be able to break through the Yuan Qi like the Tiger King. This is for you. Within 2 days, you must break through to the Yuan General Realm. Li Zongjio threw a pill to Lin Song. Lin Song's eyes widened when he caught the pill. He felt that it was unbelievable. Such a pill could be sold for millions of gold coins anywhere. Even though he was the peak master of the Long Medicine Peak, he only had a savings of 100,000 gold yuan. In order to reach 1,000,000 gold yuan, he would at the very least need the help of the Fog Pill sect or Lin Song to use the resources of the Long Medicine Peak in order to achieve this. With this pill, I have a 90% chance of breaking through to the Yuan General Realm. Lin Song's cultivation had already reached grade 9 Yuan Master. However, he had not been able to break through because he had not accumulated enough strength. His current strength was still lacking. After all, he was old and his potential was not enough. That was why Lin Song had racked his brains and put in so much effort to get his hands on the purple gold heart pills formula. However, before he could start refining it, he was assassinated by Lu Shun. You should find a place to break through. After Li Zongjio finished speaking, he walked towards Li Tianqing's study. After passing through a few courtyards, he arrived in front of Li Tianqing's study. It was already late at night. Li Tianqing was not asleep yet. Instead, he was reading a book. You're done refining the pill? Li Tianqing asked in surprise when he saw Li Zongjio walk in. Li Zongjio was refining pills? Li Tianqing didn't stop Li Zongjio. Instead, he encouraged him. After all, Li Zongjio could refine anything he wanted under the sky that Li Tianqing was holding up. It was just refining pills and wasting some medicinal materials. This wasn't a big deal to Li Tianqing. I'm done, Li Zongjio said. He then naturally sat opposite Li Tianqing. Although Li Tianqing was still young, there was already a trace of white on his sideburns. He had not observed it carefully before. Although Li Tianqing was young, there was already a trace of white on his sideburns. In fact, Li Tianqing's cultivation talent was quite impressive. However, there were too many family matters that had to be dealt with. Therefore, Li Tianqing's cultivation had been delayed, causing his cultivation to stagnate. Otherwise, given Li Tianqing's talent, it would not be strange for him to reach the primary general realm. Why are you looking at me? Li Tianqing lifted his head and glanced at Li Zongjio. He could not help but smile. This brat's return this time had also undergone a shocking transformation. Although Li Tianqing was very busy, he still paid a lot of attention to Li Zongjio. In addition, as soon as Li Zongjio came back, he did a few big things, which alarmed him. Father, don't worry. I will make the Li family truly prosper, Li Zongjio said in a loud voice. At the same time, he placed a porcelain bottle on the table. Ha, you're my son. Of course. Li Tianqing laughed a few times. He then looked at the porcelain bottle and asked, Is this the elixir you refined? This elixir should be eaten while it's hot, Li Zongjio said. He then stood up. Li Zongjio would not say too many words. However, this rebirth had given Li Zongjio a chance to redeem himself. Li Zongjio left Li Tianqing's study and lifted his head to look at the bright moonlight. Today would be the beginning of a great upheaval. Tiger Vitality Amplification Elixir. Li Zongjio returned to his room and swallowed the elixir. Li Tianqing picked up the porcelain bottle from the desk. The porcelain bottle in his hand was still warm. Obviously, the elixir in the bottle had just been refined. This kid has already learned how to refine elixir in half a year at Long Herb Peak. Li Tianqing opened the lid of the porcelain bottle. Immediately, a burst of elixir fragrance filled the air. In an instant, Li Tianqing's expression changed. Although Li Tianqing had never seen a grade 3 elixir before, he had seen many grade 2 elixir pills. Naturally, he knew what kind of effect the elixir in his hand had on this smell. Even a slight whiff of the elixir fragrance was enough to make the yuan energy in his body boil. This elixir. This kid. What did this kid do? This elixir is at least a grade 3 elixir. Li Tianqing's expression kept changing, but in the end, his face revealed a look of ecstasy. With this elixir, I will definitely reach the primary general level in 3 years. Li Tianqing's eyes shone brightly. He did not know how Li Zongjio did it, but Li Zongjio had done it. This was his son. His son had refined a grade 3 elixir. There was also the mysterious old man. Li Tianqing could tell from Li Zongjio's eyes that his son had undergone an earth-shattering change. Perhaps the glory of the Li family will be just around the corner. Recalling the glory of the Li family in the past and looking at the current decline, how could a small Luoxia city bear to let the Li family hide in this place? Li Zongjio was in his room. First, he adjusted his body to its peak state. My heavenly void divine image seems to have a different experience after cultivating it from the beginning in this life. Li Zongjio thought to himself. As the surrounding yuan energy entered his body, he could feel the majestic vitality in his body. Compared to the previous situation, Li Zongjio's foundation was more or less established. After refining this tiger vitality accumulation elixir, my yuan energy cultivation should be able to break through to the primary master level. Primary master level. Everyone in the Shengwu continent cultivated yuan energy, but very few could condense it into a form. Those who could achieve something were even more unlikely. In the huge Li family, there were no more than 10 yuan master level experts. The great elder of Long Herb Peak, Lu Shun, was only a grade 3 yuan master. Therefore, Li Zongjio was able to break through to the primary master level at such a young age. If news of his talent spread, it would definitely shock everyone within a 10,000-mile radius. The most talented person in the Li family was, of course, Li Sheng. He was able to enter Long Herb Peak to cultivate and become an elite disciple. Li Sheng's talent was imaginable, but he was only a grade 6 yuan master. Li Zongjio's current strength was already at the 7th stage of the yuan realm. If he wanted to kill Li Sheng, it would be a piece of cake. If Li Zongjio only set his sights on people like Li Sheng, he would not be able to achieve anything in his life. There were countless enemies in the Shengwu continent who were stronger than Li Sheng, Lu Shun, and Li Changjiang. He had once stood at the peak of this continent. Li Zongjio also knew that the Li family would not only have to face enemies like the Sun family. The other 3 major families in Luoxia City were only worthy of being the Li family's stepping stones. After adjusting his aura to its peak, Li Zongjio stuffed the tiger vitality accumulation elixir into his mouth. Chapter 26. As the tiger birth pill entered his throat, it instantly transformed into a majestic energy that surged into his body. The energy that was released at this moment transformed into a roaring tiger that continuously surged into Li Zongjio's body, smashing apart all the blockages in his meridians. The Heaven Void God image record circulated within his body. After releasing the energy from every meridian point in his body, Li Zongjio began to collect the yuan power. The yuan power continuously surged into his dantian. Before breaking through to the origin master realm, the yuan power stored in the dantian was in a disorganized state. The most obvious sign of breaking through to the origin master realm was to condense the yuan power into an origin bead. Once the origin bead was successfully condensed, it would be considered as successfully advancing to the origin master realm. Within Li Zongjio's body, yuan power surged like a tidal wave, continuously gushing towards his dantian. If it was a newbie who had just made a breakthrough, he would definitely be scared witless by such an enormous amount of yuan power. He would even need an expert to guide him in order to succeed. However, for Li Zongjio, this amount of yuan power was nothing. Very familiarly, he compressed all the yuan power into his body and gradually condensed it into a crystal-clear origin bead. However, this newly formed origin bead seemed to be somewhat unstable. It seemed as if it would become loose at any moment. Why is my origin bead like this? Li Zongjio felt the changes in his origin bead. How could this be? The great evil lord, actually become like this? Very quickly, a mysterious energy suddenly emerged from Li Zongjio's body and continuously surged into his dantian. Li Zongjio's aura instantly became chaotic. Boom. Shit. This sudden surge of energy instantly broke the balance in Li Zongjio's body. Roar. Dragon soul. The first thing that emerged was a blood-colored dragon soul. If you want this dragon soul to be your innate origin spirit, you must merge it into your origin bead. Li Zongjio, who was well versed in this field, had a sharp look in his eyes. I was able to kill all of you in my previous life, and I can do the same in this life. Li Zongjio's body trembled violently, while the yuan power in his body roared like a torrential flood. In the blink of an eye, it carried an earth-shattering aura as it surged towards the dragon soul power. Rumble. The surging and boiling power directly shattered the blood dragon soul. At this moment, the origin bead displayed its devouring power and absorbed the fragmented blood dragon soul. Then, the white dragon soul appeared. The golden dragon soul appeared. All of them were crushed by Li Zongjio and absorbed into the origin bead. 3 innate original spirits. Even for Li Zongjio, it was his first time encountering such a situation. When the golden dragon soul was absorbed by Li Zongjio's elemental pearl, a will suddenly poured into Li Zongjio's mind. This is the Golden Dragon Clan's body-tempering origin formula. Ancient golden tyrannical body art. After refining the golden dragon soul, he obtained a body-tempering origin formula that came with the golden dragon soul. This was definitely a pleasant surprise for Li Zongjio. Now that I have merged with 3 dragon souls, if I want to break through in the future, the amount of yuan power I need will be 3 or even 4 times that of other cultivators. Li Zongjio thought to himself. Although this wasn't a small trouble, the benefits were even greater. Just this ancient golden body scripture was already a great harvest. No wonder the strength of the golden dragon race was so strong. How could they not be strong after practicing such an overbearing elemental scripture? There were 3 dragon runes in the origin bead. Li Zongjio carefully observed the origin bead, but found that the 3 dragon runes did not occupy the entire origin bead. There seemed to be a gap that the other dragon souls did not dare to approach. The size of the origin bead was related to the speed of its growth in the future. There was such a large space, but these dragon runes were unwilling to move over. This made Li Zongjio puzzled. However, it was his first time encountering this innate original spirit, so Li Zongjio did not bother about it. The weather was getting colder and colder. Li Zongjio reviewed the contents of the ancient golden tyrannical body art. In summary, there was only one way. It was thoroughly tempered. This origin formula is amazing. When fighting, it can actually absorb damage. Li Zongjio was also surprised. He recalled that in his previous life, when he killed the Golden Dragon Clan sovereign, he had indeed exhausted a lot of energy. This was because the Golden Dragon Clan's sovereign was simply too durable. A first-grade origin master. Such a weak force, I'm really not used to it. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. During this period of time, Luoxia City could be said to be incomparably lively. Everyone had heard that this extremely unequal contest was about to take place. The idiotic young master of the Li family actually wanted to challenge an alchemist from the northern medicine city in the alchemy square of Luoxia City. And the most bizarre thing was that the wager of this challenge was the legendary pill formula of a 3rd-grade medicinal pill. This kind of priceless thing could only be taken out by the Li family. The Li family seemed to have tacitly agreed to this wager and did not issue any statement to deny it. Moreover, those who had a little eyesight also felt that there seemed to be an unusual wind blowing in Luoxia City. Most of the Li family's businesses seemed to have entered a state of reorganization at this time, and the defensive forces below were also gradually gathering. This was obviously the intention of a fight. The people of the Sun family had arrived early. In the important seat of the Sun family, there was a sloppy person, which was surprising. Sitting next to him was the generation's Master Wang Lu. The other 2 clans, the Bai family and Gu family, had sent important figures to watch the show as well. Today seemed to be a reshuffling of the cards, so the other two clans were paying extremely close attention. On the seat of the Bai family was a white-clothed young woman with a cold appearance, and her gaze revealed a slightly dangerous aura. The number 1 auction house of the Bai family's Bai Family Trading Company in Luoxia City was managed by this young woman, Bai Luoxia. She was young and promising, and her bearing was even fascinating. Under Bai Luoxia's management, the Bai family's auction house's performance rose with each passing day, and it was managed in an orderly manner. This is slightly interesting. Didn't that kid Li Zongjio not even know the difference between poison and medicinal herbs? He actually has such courage? Could it be that the Li family has taken the wrong medicine? Bai Luoxia raised her snow-white chin while her eyes revealed a slightly arrogant expression. In this city, only the genius young woman in alchemy from the Li family, Li Yun, could compare with her. However, in Bai Luoxia's eyes, this Li Yun was simply not worth being afraid of. Li Zongjio coming out to create some news, and it was such a big piece of news, which made Bai Luoxia extremely curious, so she also came here early in the morning. After all, Li Zongjio did not matter, but if the medicinal pills refined by Master Wang Lu were to be auctioned by the Bai family in the end, it would definitely be a very good gimmick. Of course, she was very willing to do such a thing. Why haven't the people of the Li family arrived yet? Could it be that they are afraid? Chapter 27. It wasn't just the outsiders who were guessing why the Li family hadn't arrived yet. Even the Li family members were urging them to come. Li Yun slammed Li Zongjio's door until it broke, but she didn't hear any sound from inside. Could it be that this brat slipped away in the middle of the night? The more Li Yun thought about it, the more likely it was. She immediately prepared to break the door open. Li Zongjio opened the door and looked at Li Yun, who was about to kick him, and yawned. "Cousin, you are the ambassador of our Li family. How could you do such a thing?" Li Zongjio joked. "You still dare to say that? Our Li family members don't dare to go out now. My father is already waiting for you. Everyone in the Alchemy Plaza is waiting for you. Are you afraid?" A few days ago, Li Zongjio saved a batch of pills and helped them refine a mid-grade second-grade pill. Judging from this, Li Zongjio definitely had some skills. But when it came to this brat actually dropped the ball. Why did Li Zongjio look like he just woke up? Afraid? What's there to be afraid of? Wait, I'll wash up and have breakfast before leaving. As Li Zongjio spoke, he began to wash his face leisurely. He then asked for a bowl of pickled vegetable porridge from the kitchen and slowly drank it. It's so hot. As he ate, he couldn't help but blow at it. No matter what he did, Li Zongjio's movements seemed to be twice as slow as usual. Moreover, his unhurried expression made anyone who saw him want to beat him up. Li Jiuyan and the others were already waiting in the main hall. Li Gui gathered hundreds of guards. Li Tianqing didn't appear, and the only elder accompanying him was Li Jiuyan. It seemed that most of the elders pretended not to know about this. No one came to support Li Zongjio. If these elders didn't do anything, these guards wouldn't be of much use. He had been waiting since early in the morning until noon. Only then did Li Zongjio slowly appear in the main hall. Everyone is here. Anyway, it's still early. Let's have lunch before we go. Come. Distribute the bowls and eat something before we come. Li Yun originally thought that Li Zongjio was ready to leave. But when she saw Li Zongjio's actions and saw the family servants behind him start distributing the bowls and chopsticks to the various guards. "Young master, what are you doing?" When Li Jiuyan saw Li Zongjio, he seemed to be trying to stall for time. How long could this delay last? "It's fine. First. You'll only have strength when you're full." Li Zongjio casually stuffed a bowl into Li Jiuyan's hand. Looking at the bowl and chopsticks in his hand, he felt that Li Zongjio's words made sense. On the other side of the Li family, Li Changjiang also sent people to investigate Li Zongjio's situation. He also gathered the law enforcement team, ready to take action at any time to arrest Li Zongjio and wait for Li Zongjio to lose. "What? Eating? Eating lunch?" Li Changjiang almost jumped up when he heard this. "Didn't you make an appointment with someone? You're still leisurely eating your lunch here." Li Zongjio was also like this. He made everyone in the square wait for half a day. After lunch, he said that he wanted to practice a set of Tai Chi to digest his energy. When it was close to 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when it was the easiest time to feel sleepy, Li Zongjio led the rest of the Li family disciples and set off majestically. Many of the Li family's alchemy hall disciples also followed in this group. After all, Li Juyen was also personally involved. Moreover, this was a competition that involved alchemy and alchemy. It needed to be taken seriously. Li Baichao looked at Li Zongjio's figure in the crowd. When he lost to Chang Feng, it was Li Zongjio's appearance that turned the situation around. Now, Li Zongjio actually directly led people to challenge Chang Feng's master, a real grade 2 alchemist. Let's not talk about the final outcome. Just this kind of courage alone was enough to make ordinary people admire him. Patriarch, the Li family's people are here. An elder of the Sun family came to pass the message. When he heard that Li Zongjio was finally here, Sun Jing, who was originally sleepy, opened his eyes wide. Finally, these bastards are here. Today, this Li family must become the history of Luoxia City. Li Zongjio, if I don't kill you, I, Chang Feng, am not a man. There was another person sitting beside Wang Lu. This was Chang Feng, who was thrown out twice by Li Zongjio. He was a dignified alchemy genius and an alchemist master. Wherever he went, he would be respected and sought after. However, in front of Li Zongjio, he was repeatedly humiliated. If it wasn't for Chang Feng's firm will, he would not have been able to endure such humiliation. It was not impossible for him to directly hang himself. At this moment, being able to sit here neatly dressed was already a great challenge. Brother Chang Feng, you can rest assured. When we take down the Li family, we will definitely use a knife to peel off Li Zongjio's skin bit by bit. Sun Bin said. As the young master of the Sun family, Sun Bin was qualified to talk to Chang Feng. Moreover, now that they had a common enemy like Li Zongjio, they became brothers in distress. Good. That Li Zongjio will definitely die. Chang Feng's eyes were burning with anger. Mu Yuan was already dozing off on the stool. He was able to come to such a place because of Wang Lu. Otherwise, Mu Yuan would not even be interested in such a small city. As a general-level expert, no matter which city or sect he went to, he would be extremely popular. There was no need for any publicity at all. People did not care about your reputation at all. It's just a matter of living for a few more hours. Bai Luoxue seemed to have foreseen Li Zongjio's fate. Moreover, she was extremely unhappy that Li Zongjio had stood them up for so long. Immediately, she included Li Zongjio in the camp of the losers. Hee, everyone has waited for a long time. A loud laughter sounded. Then, Li Zongjio's figure appeared on the alchemy platform. He was wearing a white robe and a pair of azure cloud boots. The corner of his mouth carried a trace of a bewitching evil smile. Wherever his gaze passed, it seemed to give people a piercing pain, as if the tip of a knife was slicing through their eyelids. Since everyone is here, please bear witness to my bet with that baldy Wang Lu. Today, I will compete with that baldy Wang Lu in alchemy. If I lose, my Li family will offer a scroll of third-grade pill recipes. My Li family's elder Li Juyen will be the guarantor. If that baldy Wang Lu loses, he will strip naked and run around our Luoxia city's Changel Street naked. Baldy Wang Lu? Wang Lu was not young. His hair was slightly sparse, but it was not to the extent of being called a baldy. Chapter 28. Li Zongjio was obviously provoking him by calling him a baldy. He was trying to infuriate him. After hearing Li Zongjio's words, Wang Lu also stood up unhurriedly, as if Li Zongjio was just a madman who was talking nonsense. He did not put him in his eyes at all. Today, as long as he, Wang Lu, defeated Li Zongjio. If the Li family could not hand over the things, then don't blame Wang Lu for being impolite. At that time, Wang Lu would like to see if Li Zongjio's mouth would still be so tough. Tell me, how do you want to compete? Wang Lu said very generously, as if he did not care about what Li Zongjio had said before. He just wanted the competition to start quickly. After that, he would slowly deal with Li Zongjio. The competition method is simple. You and I will share a medicinal cauldron. Whoever can refine pills faster and with higher quality will win. Li Zongjio said. When such a competition method was announced, everyone's eyes widened. Was Li Zongjio here to seek his own death? What made Li Zongjio take things so hard that he would use such an extreme method to force himself to death and bring disaster to the entire Li family? When Bai Luoxue heard Li Zongjio's words, she was stunned at first. Then, she shook her head in disdain. She thought that this useless young master of the Li family had some fortuitous encounter, or that there was some expert guiding him from behind. That was why he did such a thing. However, since Li Zongjio proposed such a suicidal action, no one could help him. Refining pills in this medicinal cauldron. This was a survival of the strong. Whoever had the best alchemy skills would be able to stand out in this medicinal cauldron and become the final winner. This competition was a real competition of skills and methods, and it was also the most direct competition. What both sides had learned would be displayed in this medicinal cauldron. Even the level of flames between them would become a very direct battle. Little kid, I can give you a chance to back out. Think carefully before you decide whether you want to use this method to compete with me. Wang Lu chuckled. At this time, he also showed the appearance of a senior expert. He was clearly mocking Li Zongjio. My God, is this kid a traitor sent by the Sun family? When Li Juyen and the others arrived and heard Li Zongjio's method of competition, they almost collapsed on the ground. They might as well just let it go. Dad, don't be nervous, don't be nervous. Maybe he has a way. Li Yun quickly went forward and comforted him. Li Zongjio had just recovered from a serious illness, and he actually encountered such a situation. The competition could only go on because of Li Juyen's guarantee. Now that Li Zongjio was defeated, Li Juyen would probably have to step down. After all, in the Li family, there were many people who had the ability to refine pills. However, Li Zongjio had already said it, and there was no reason to take it back. Sigh, your dad's reputation will probably be ruined here, Li Juyen could not help but sigh. He was sitting in this position. If Li Zongjio was really defeated, he might as well directly kill himself on the steps next to him. That way, he would have an explanation. Li Baichao and the other disciples were sitting in the stands, looking at Li Zongjio and the others below. They were nervous. Could Li Zongjio win? I'm afraid that the idiotic young master of the Li family has already defected. I bet that it won't be long before the Li family sends someone to take the idiotic young master away and admit that this was a mistake. A man beside Bai Luoxue said indifferently. It was as if he was deliberately trying to show off his intelligence in front of Bai Luoxue. Bai Luoxue did not seem to like this man. Before things are clear, anything can happen. Bai Luoxue said slowly. The smile on the man's face froze. A mere piece of trash wants to compete with Wang Lu. He's overestimating himself. If he can win, Bai Jiao, can also become a Yuan general expert in the future. The man said disdainfully. Although Bai Luoxue was an extremely promising disciple of the Bai family, she was still a woman after all. It was not a problem for her to be independent. However, if she wanted to control the overall situation, she still needed a man. This was a tradition that had not changed for many years. Therefore, the next generation might be selected from Bai Jiao and the others. Bai Luoxue could not help but look at Bai Jiao. This person's ambition was so low. He was just a Yuan general, and he thought that he had reached his limit. If the Bai family was handed over to someone like Bai Jiao in the future, they probably would not be able to go far. In comparison, although Li Zongjio was a little retarded, at least he had a certain level of ambition. He knew to look up at the sky and not at his feet. Short-sighted people were destined to not be able to go far in this lifetime. Although he is a little retarded at such a young age, Li Zongjio did not react in the slightest in the face of the ridicule and disdain of so many people. He seems to ignore the existence of these people. Based on this point alone, if he is nurtured properly, he might become a useful knife in the future. Such a person only needs to be given some symbolic help when he is greatly affected. Bai Luoxue was already thinking about how to subdue Li Zongjio. If the Li family suffered a great calamity, Li Zongjio would definitely be abandoned. However, it was still too early to discuss this matter. It was better to see if there were any variables in this match. Although on the surface, everyone knew that Li Zongjio would definitely lose. However, Bai Luoxue still felt that there was a trace of unusualness in this. If I still need to consider compared to you, then I, Li Zongjio, am too useless. Li Zongjio shook his head, as if he did not want to argue with Wang Lu at all. Lest you say that we tampered with it, we will use your medicinal cauldron to refine pills. As for the medicinal ingredients, we will provide it ourselves. Even the medicinal cauldron was used by Wang Lu. Was Li Zongjio really confident, or was he just going to smash a broken pot? Therefore, he might as well act pretentious until the end. Li Zongjio? Is there something wrong with Li Zongjio's brain? My God, a medicinal cauldron is like a sword in the hands of a swordsman to an alchemist. This Li Zongjio actually wants to use Master Wang Lu's medicinal cauldron. It seems like he really doesn't want to live anymore. He has no intention of winning this match at all. Chapter 29. In the eyes of most people, Li Zongjio's attitude was already a broken jar. Since he was going to die anyway, he might as well let Li Zongjio have the upper hand. At that time, Li Zongjio might act shamelessly. They had to be on guard against this. However, how could Wang Lu and the others let Li Zongjio do as he wished? The people from the Sun family were also eyeing Li Zongjio covetously. Each and every one of them wanted to tear Li Zongjio to pieces. Behind Sun Jinglei was a person wearing a black robe and a hat. He lowered his head, not daring to meet anyone's eyes. This person was Sun Qiu of the Sun family, whose tongue had been cut off by Li Zongjio. After all, he was a Yuan master powerhouse. Although his grade wasn't high, he was still a genuine Yuan master. Therefore, this injury was quickly stabilized. However, there was no way to recover his tongue. In other words, Sun Qiu wouldn't be able to speak for the rest of his life. He would become a living mute. Sun Qiu hid behind Sun Qiu and stared at Li Zongjio. Even his body was trembling violently. It was all because of this abominable brat in front of him. Once this competition ended, he would definitely rush forward and behead Li Zongjio. No, he couldn't let this guy die so easily. He had to pull out his tongue inch by inch before cutting it off. He also had to dig out his eyes and pierce his ears. The resentment accumulated in Sun Qiu's heart was unimaginable to ordinary people. He was originally a glorious elder of the Sun family. However, he had suddenly fallen to the bottom and ended up like this. It was really shocking and unbelievable. Even Sun Qiu himself couldn't believe that his tongue had been cut off by a teenager. No matter what, Li Zongjio wouldn't live for long. Since you have already decided, this old man will send you on your way. This is the golden origin cauldron that I have used for 30 years. Whether it is the casting material or the craftsmanship, it is a masterpiece. The cauldron weighs 572. Stop. Who wants to listen to your nonsense? Your cauldron is not worthy of being reported to me. Let's begin. Li Zongjio raised his hand and said, medicinal cauldrons were also very important when alchemists fought. Under normal circumstances, alchemists would introduce their own medicinal cauldrons to each other, just like how swordsmen would introduce their swords before fighting. This was a sign of respect. However, Li Zongjio directly interrupted him, letting Wang Lu know one thing. This Li Zongjio did not know the rules at all. It could even be said that he did not know how to refine pills. The only thing this brat could rely on was the old man who made a move that day, a peak master realm cultivator. The Li clan must have lost their minds. Did they really think that they could go against Wang Lu just because they had such a peak stage Yuan master? Wang Lu couldn't help but sneer in his heart. These young people were frivolous and arrogant. It was a pity that Li Zongjio's dream of becoming a powerhouse would be extinguished by Wang Lu here. Since Li Zongjio said so, Wang Lu didn't hesitate. Wang Lu didn't stand on ceremony and glanced at Sun Jinglei behind him. Sun Jinglei also slowly stood up. This competition will be hosted by me, Sun Jinglei. All the spectators will be the judges. What do you think? Sun Jinglei's voice was like a large bell. Although his words were gentle, everyone present heard Sun Jinglei's words. No one had any objections. After all, there were so many pairs of eyes watching here. Sun Zhenglei immediately jumped and landed on the stage with a crash. This move seemed to be for the convenience of hosting, and also to ensure the fairness of this competition. However, in reality, Li Zongjio indifferently glanced at Sun Zhenglei, who landed on the stage. This old dog must want to take him down and control him at the first moment. That was why he was so attentive. However, Li Zongjio didn't care. With Sun Zhenglei's ability, Li Zongjio wouldn't be threatened by him. However, Li Gui and the others in the spectators' stands became nervous. Although Sun Zhenglei definitely wouldn't dare to openly harm the young master in public, it was still dangerous to be so close to the enemy. Li Gui also stealthily ordered 2 groups of people to approach the martial arts stage. Listen to my command. Place the cauldron on the ground. After 3 seconds, no one is allowed to approach the stage. After he finished speaking, Sun Zhenglei also released a tyrannical aura. Anyone who disrupts the order of this competition will be an enemy of my Sun family. The tyrannical aura formed a deterrent force. Bai Luoshue's eyes revealed a trace of brilliance. Sun Zhenglei's strength was even more tyrannical than before. He had once again improved a little. I'm afraid this brat is done for, Bai Luoshue thought to herself as she looked at Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio was still acting as if he didn't know the difference between life and death. It was as if he still believed that victory was within his grasp. He was completely unaware that his life and death was already in the hands of others. Such a person would not even know how he died in the end. Clang. The golden cauldron landed on the ground, causing the entire stage to tremble. After 3 breaths, Wang Lu also placed dozens of medicinal ingredients in front of him. Before he started refining, he had already thought about what kind of pill he would refine. Now that he started refining, he naturally had to keep up with his efficiency. Although Li Zongjio wasn't worth mentioning, Wang Lu wanted to win decisively and without any gossip. At the same time, in front of so many people, he wanted to thoroughly display his ability as a grade 2 high-grade alchemist. The feeling of being the center of attention was very good. Boom! A huge amount of yuan power directly flowed into the cauldron. At the mouth of the cauldron, there were 3 tiger heads arranged in a row. When yuan power flowed into the cauldron, the tiger head sculpture immediately spewed out a strong flame. It continuously heated up the cauldron. At the same time, Wang Lu also threw the medicinal ingredients in his hand into the cauldron according to the order. The entire cauldron was already filled with Wang Lu's flames. Li Zongjio was already lagging behind. If he wanted to make a move, it wouldn't be so easy. After all, Li Zongjio's yuan power was weak and it would be difficult for him to break through. If the flame could not be controlled by oneself, then the herbs thrown in would be refined by the other party in vain. This time, it's over. There's no chance at all. The surface of the golden cauldron is filled with metal elemental energy. Even if young master wants to get close, he will be repelled. How can there be such a stupid method? Li Juyen slapped his thigh. Maybe Li Zongjio was really capable, but he didn't know many of the rules. He must be thinking about how to show off. Now, he couldn't even get close to the cauldron. What else could he do? Li Juyen, who had just woken up, was probably going to faint again with a creak. Chapter 30. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Li Zongjio finally moved. They saw Li Zongjio sitting cross-legged on the other side of the golden yuan cauldron. He seemed to be doing some preparatory work, constantly stretching his body. But until now, Li Zongjio had not taken out his herbs. Could it be that he did not prepare the herbs beforehand? When Wang Lu saw Li Zongjio's unhurried movements, he disdainfully smiled in his heart. I want to see how long you can pretend. Wang Lu thought in his heart. He had refined more than half of the herbs in his hands. In a few more days, the second-grade middle-level pill would be born. With his identity as a second-grade high-level alchemist, it was already very good to be able to maintain such a success rate. How many alchemists could achieve such a level? After all, Wang Lu wanted to become a third-grade alchemist master. As long as he could enter the 3rd grade, he could be called a master. At that time, the seemingly unruly but actually arrogant Mu Yuan would not treat Wang Lu with such an attitude. Instead, he would be very respectful. But now, Mu Yuan was actually not too afraid of Wang Lu. If it were not because Wang Lu had the potential to become a third-grade alchemist master, even if Mu Yuan owed Wang Lu 100 favors, he would not have come back to pay attention to Wang Lu. Of course, there was a very important factor. That was, in the entire Luoxia city, there was no one who could match up to Mu Yuan. This must be an easy task, so he agreed to come. Oh, not bad, old Baldy. You can actually refine the ice and fire restoration pill in such a short time? Li Zongjio suddenly said. His voice was so low that only Wang Lu could hear it. What? Wang Lu could not help but look up at Li Zongjio. His eyes revealed a look of shock. Wang Lu did not believe that Li Zongjio could actually see what kind of pill he was refining. How did this kid do it? Wang Lu didn't give any explanation before this, and the herbs he took out were also very scattered. Although it was possible to see what the main ingredients were, it was still very difficult to guess what kind of pill was being refined. Not to mention that the pill was only half refined, and nothing had yet to come out. How could Li Zongjio know about it? Very surprised, right? Next, you will be even more surprised. Li Zongjio smiled slightly. Suddenly, his hands slapped on the golden yuan cauldron. In an instant, the yuan qi in the golden yuan cauldron boiled, and even the flames spouted by the 3 tiger heads seemed to spread towards Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio freed his hand and took out a wine gourd from his bosom. After drinking a mouthful of wine, he suddenly spat out the strong wine in his mouth with a bang. The flames that rushed towards the cauldron of. Not good. Wang he retreated back to the cauldron fire immediately, he retreated immediately. However, he could not leave the cauldron. Otherwise, he would lose control of the golden yuan cauldron. Boom. The flames were extinguished. Sun Jinglei stood behind Li Zongjio without batting an eyelid. The act of extinguishing the flames earlier was clearly Sun Jinglei's doing. Even though he had openly cheated in front of such a large crowd, no one dared to speak out against him. After all, it was not a big deal. There was no need to offend Sun Jinglei over such a small matter. If he was remembered by the Sun family, he would definitely not have a good ending. It's useless to play these tricks. If you really want to show your value, then show me your ability. Wang Lu could not help but sneer. The move just now almost made Wang Lu break out in a cold sweat. However, Wang Lu didn't receive a response from Li Zongjio. Suddenly, Wang Lu seemed to realize something. When he lowered his head to take a look, he was shocked to discover that the pill that should have been wrapped in his yuan force fire had actually disappeared. Where is my pill? Wang Lu was suddenly horrified. As an alchemist, he had actually lost it when he was concocting pills. Ice and fire restoration pill. It's simply a waste of medicinal herbs for you to refine this pill. Li Zongjio snorted coldly. Wang Lu realized that his golden yuan cauldron was already filled with Li Zongjio's yuan qi. Li Zongjio had injected his yuan qi into the cauldron and took away the incomplete ice and fire restoration pill when Wang Lu was not paying attention. At the same time, the yuan qi flames that were spat out by the 3 tiger heads had been replaced with Li Zongjio's yuan qi flames. Boom! Li Zongjio added more medicinal herbs into the cauldron. Most of the process had already been completed by Wang Lu. However, what Li Zongjio was doing now was to sublimate the pill. How dare you act rashly in front of me? When I was playing with fire, who knows where you were? How could Wang Lu tolerate such a situation? Fortunately, the medicinal pill was inside the medicinal cauldron. Outsiders didn't know what was going on inside the medicinal cauldron. If they knew, then Wang Lu's face would be completely lost. Moreover, Wang Lu needed to salvage the situation as soon as possible. It turned out that Li Zongjio had never thought of refining the pill together. Instead, he had planned to wait until Wang Lu was almost done refining the pill before snatching it. It was too despicable. Wang Lu released the yuan qi in his body. After many years of cultivation, coupled with the help of the pill, Wang Lu had become a grade 5 yuan master. Although he might not be as good as an ordinary yuan master in terms of fighting, yuan qi was his yuan qi. However, the essence force was genuine. Wanting to bully Li Zongjio was not necessarily a difficult thing to do. However, as soon as Wang Lu released his yuan qi, It was immediately refined by the flames spewed out by the tiger head statue. No matter how much yuan qi he released, it was still the same. It was like a clay ox entering the sea. Since you stole my pill, I won't let you refine it even if I have to destroy it. All of a sudden, Wang Lu went berserk and slammed his palm into the cauldron. Suddenly, the inside of the golden cauldron erupted like a volcano. Boom! A cloud of thick smoke rose to the sky. Everyone was taken aback. Sun Jinglei even thought that he might as well get rid of Li Zongjiao in the thick smoke. However, after thinking about it, he felt that it was unnecessary. A mere Li Zongjiao was not worthy of a sneak attack by Sun Jinglei. The cauldron exploded? Two people using the same cauldron, it will definitely explode. No, look in front of Li Zongjiao, there is a flame. Chapter 31. Those with better eyesight immediately noticed the ball of flame in front of Li Zongjiao's chest. That flame burned fiercely. It illuminated Li Zongjiao's tender face. What? That's a towering fire control pill. Without 40 to 50 years of fire control, it's absolutely impossible to achieve such a profound technique. Wang Lu looked at Li Zongjiao in shock. Li Yun and the rest were also shocked by Li Zongjiao's method. What's a towering fire control pill? Li Yun and the rest looked at Li Juyen curiously. As the alchemy elder of the Li family, he was naturally the most authoritative in this field. Questions that they did not understand were naturally thrown to Li Juyen to answer. Towering fire control pill is an extremely profound fire control technique. Usually, when the cauldron explodes, the pill can still be preserved. The instant the cauldron explodes, one uses one's own yuan power to activate the flame and envelopes the pill within it, allowing the pill to remain in the cauldron's environment. This way, the pill's effect will not be affected. Even the slightest deviation is enough to cause the pill to shatter into pieces. Li Juyen took a deep breath. It sounded simple, but the temperature within the cauldron had to be controlled. Moreover, once the cauldron exploded, it would definitely create some turbulent airflow. While controlling the flame, one had to find the pill. It was like adding a bowl of water into a pot of boiling oil. Then, in an extremely short period of time, one had to fish a bean from the oil pot into another pot of the same temperature. When Li Baichao and the other disciples heard this, their faces were filled with shock. Li Zongjiao was also a disciple of the alchemy hall back then. At that time, although Li Zongjiao was young, but his performance in alchemy was a mess. As the eldest disciple, Li Zongjiao was very unhappy with Li Zongjiao. As the young lord of the family, but with such poor talent, how could he become the future leader of the family? But now, Li Zongjiao's thin and frail figure was sitting cross-legged on the dueling platform, supporting such a grand scene. Bai Luoxue was also shocked to see the ball of flame in front of Li Zongjiao's chest. High fire pill control, that's a method that only a third-grade alchemist can use. Bai Luoxue was shocked in her heart, and she seemed to have smelled something unusual. Tisk, it's just using origin energy to catalyze the flame and preserve the medicinal pill. What's so great about it? Deliberately mystifying things and playing to the gallery. Bai Tianju said in disdain. His eyes were full of disdain. What could a mere Li Zongjiao do? He was just a brat who was still wet behind the ears. Bai Luoxue ignored Bai Tianju. If he couldn't even see through such a method, such a piece of trash would not be able to see through it at all. It was meaningless to argue with such a person. Sun Jinglei's gaze instantly turned sharp as the ball of shocking lightning yuan power stealthily surged within his palm. But this hand was hidden under his sleeve, and most of the people's eyes were focused on Li Zongjiao. Li Zongjiao had already sensed Sun Jinglei's actions behind him. The ice and fire restoration pill in his hand had already taken shape. Not good, his pill is about to take shape. Even Wang Lu himself had never thought that even though the medicinal pill he had refined was a gift to Li Zongjiao, it was definitely not a simple matter to refine the medicinal pill and complete the final fusion of the medicinal liquid. What's more, the high fire pill control that Li Zongjiao had displayed was already quite amazing. This meant that Li Zongjiao's strength far surpassed Wang Lu's. Although he did not dare to believe it, it was an indisputable fact. Ha! Seeing this, Sun Zhenglei immediately released a ball of lightning yuan energy from his palm, which instantly landed on the floor. Using an extremely hidden method, it spread towards Li Zongjio. Naturally, he could see that Li Zongjio's pill was about to be refined. If Li Zongjio succeeded, his Sun family and Wang Lu would naturally not be able to get out of this embarrassing situation. If he cut off all ties with Wang Lu, then the trouble would only be greater. Therefore, their Sun family's honor and disgrace were tied together with Wang Lu. Today, Li Zongjio had to lose even if he didn't want to. Sun Zhenglei has made his move. An old man beside Bai Luoxue said in a deep voice. As one of the Bai family's key disciples, after creating value for the family, there would naturally be experts following him. Although it was currently a peaceful era. However, vengeance between them would still happen from time to time. This old man was Bai Luoxue's guardian. White City. In the Bai family, he was considered the number 3 expert. Damn it! Bai Luoxue cursed inwardly. This Sun Zhenglei was actually so despicable to sneak attack a youth. At this moment, the situation was still unclear. If Bai Luoxue acted rashly, she might not be able to guarantee that she would win. However, if she continued to wait, she might miss the opportunity. Victory or defeat, success or failure, would be decided with a single thought. Grandpa Cheng, save his life. The Li family did not have any experts present. Those who came were only small fries. In front of an expert, these people were not even worth mentioning. They could be easily defeated. If Li Zongjio did not have any experts by his side to help him, then he might die miserably. Bai Luoxue wanted to take a gamble. After seeing Li Zongjio use such a method and might really defeat Wang Lu, with such potential, she naturally knew that he was not an ordinary person. Bai Luoxue, are you crazy? What did you say? Bai Luoxue, who was at the side, heard Bai Luoxue's words and could not help but ask. Before Bai Cheng could make a move, he heard a series of crackling sounds coming from the front. Li Zongjio's figure leaped up and stomped on the ground. His domineering strength directly shattered the thunderclap yuan energy released by Sun Zhenglei. In the next moment, Li Zongjio lifted the golden cauldron in front of him with one hand. He suddenly dashed towards Wang Lu. What are you doing? Clang. Li Zongjio flipped the golden cauldron in his hand and covered Wang Lu with it. The golden cauldron weighed at least 250 kilograms, but Li Zongjio lifted it with one hand. His performance shocked the crowd. What was even more surprising was that Li Zongjio actually dared to attack alchemist Wang Lu. Li Zongjio, you're courting death. Sun Zhenglei saw Li Zongjio's action and immediately snorted coldly. This Li Zongjio was actually so bold. At the same time, Li Zongjio broke his move just now. In Sun Zhenglei's view, this already posed a certain threat, even if it was not enough to threaten him. However, in the future he would definitely become a threat to the Sun family. This potential threat had to be removed. Chapter 32. At this moment, Sun Zhenglei had already decided to silence the witness. After destroying Li Zongjio, he would destroy the Li family. Sun Zhenglei, you think you can sneak attack your grandfather? Li Zongjio said disdainfully. If you want to fight, my Li family is not afraid of you. However, you've lost this competition. As soon as he finished speaking, a pill lay quietly in Li Zongjio's hand. Ice and Fire Restoration Pill, High Grade 2. There was a hint of pride in his tone. The Ice and Fire Yuan Recovery Pill was originally a Grade 2 middle grade elixir. However, under such circumstances, Li Zongjio had refined it to Grade 2 high grade elixir. You're courting death. Sun Zhenglei did not have the time to care about alchemy. He had to quickly release Wang Lu. Grandpa Cheng, if you don't act now, it will be too late. Bai Luoxue said indifferently. At this moment, Bai Cheng seemed to have realized something and instantly came to his senses. He released his tyrannical aura and jumped down from the stands. Crash. Upon seeing this, Li Gui and the rest did not hesitate. They immediately led their men and rushed forward to protect Li Zongjio. Patriarch's son, please calm down. I think everyone has seen the result of this competition. As the patriarch of the Sun family, Don't you think it's a little too much for you to act against a junior? Bai Cheng's figure landed between the two of them. Li Zongjio flipped over and stepped on the golden cauldron. In order to prevent Wang Lu from escaping from the golden cauldron, Li Zongjio stomped down on the cauldron the moment there was any movement. This stabilized the cauldron, making it difficult for Wang Lu to escape. Seeing that the Bai family had intervened, Sun Jinglei's face immediately turned gloomy. When did the Sun family and the Li family join forces? Bai Cheng, if your Bai family wants to get involved in this, you better be prepared. Sun Jinglei said in a deep voice. At the same time, the thunderclap yuan power was constantly circulating. At this moment, crackling sounds were emitted from Sun Jinglei's body, ready to erupt at any time. Occasionally, the thunderclap yuan power on his body would even emit electric arcs. This posture clearly showed that they were going to fight at the slightest disagreement. Elder Bai Cheng, this matter has nothing to do with your Bai clan. I'll give this pill to you. Li Zongjio will accept your kindness. If my grandson wants to rebel, Grandpa has plenty of ways to deal with him. Li Zongjio's mouth really deserved a beating. The words, grandson, directly scolded everyone in the Sun family. At Sun Jinglei's level, how could he meet such a shrewish opponent? However, Li Zongjio's character was like this. He would scold them first and talk later. Let's see if you can still be so stubborn after I pull out all your teeth. Sun Jinglei gave a low cry. The thunderclap essence energy on his body soared greatly. Soon his aura reached the level of a grade 5 Yuan master. This level of strength was even stronger than Elder Lu Shun of Longhe Peak. Sun Jinglei, you shameless thing. You're already so old, yet you still dare to bully my son. Do you really think that there's no one in my Li clan? Suddenly, an angry roar came from afar. This kind of overbearing aura made everyone's eardrums tremble. Li Gui and the others were pleasantly surprised. This was because they were all too familiar with this voice. Wasn't this their beloved patriarch? The patriarch is here. The patriarch is finally here. Li Tianqing flew over from afar alone. His movements were majestic, as if there was a barbaric giant beast behind him. This was the Li clan's fire lion technique. And what Li Tianqing cultivated was the fire lion yuan power. A violent and overbearing aura spread out. At this moment, this lion seemed to be in a rage. You've come at the right time. I was just thinking of testing the fire lion yuan power of your Li clan. The lightning-shocking yuan power within Sun Jinglei's body instantly exploded. Disciples of the Sun clan, listen up. Li Zongjio injured our Sun clan's VIP. Capture him at all costs. Over 10 elders from the Sun clan stood up and leaped down from the viewing gallery when the order was given. Immediately, the surrounding people became nervous and excited. This was clearly the outbreak of a bloody battle. The two great clans actually went all out just like that. However, before the people of the Sun clan flew onto the stage, a figure had already landed on the stage. A bunch of trash. Don't make a fool of yourself in front of me. After speaking, this person's aura was released like a huge iron fan, blowing all the elders of the Sun clan off the stage. Bang, bang, bang. What? Seeing this scene, Sun Jinglei was shocked. This old fart actually wanted to betray him? The person who stepped onto the stage was Mu Yuan, whom Wang Lu had invited. Mu Yuan was dressed in rags and looked like a beggar on the street. However, when Mu Yuan made his move, one could see how terrifying his strength was. To be able to easily send all these people flying, such strength was extraordinary. Li Zongjio also looked at the person in front of him. From the beginning, Li Zongjio already knew that this person's aura was extraordinary. He was definitely a Yuan general level expert. In his mind, a name quickly appeared. Mu Yuan. An assassin with a strange personality. An assassin who would kill the old, the weak, women and children. Scum. So you're the one the Sun clan is relying on. I'll give you a chance. Kill yourself. Li Zongjio stood on the golden cauldron as he said indifferently. Hee, little brat, your tone is not small. Either you come down from the cauldron yourself, or I'll break your legs and throw you down. Mu Yuan was stunned when he heard this. Then, a cold arc appeared on the corner of his mouth. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he slowly said, "If you can get within 5 meters of me, I won't kill you." Li Zongjio said disdainfully. When Bai Luoxue saw Mu Yuan appear, she quickly recognized his identity. She immediately realized how serious this matter was. Since a Yuan general realm expert had intervened, this matter wasn't as simple as it seemed. However, he heard Li Zongjio's arrogant words again. That was simply rolling his eyes to the sky. Couldn't this Li Zongjio be a little more low-key and cowardly? Why was he so arrogant in front of everyone? What do you mean by that? You're saying that even a Yuan general-level powerhouse can't get within 5 meters of you? Do you think that you are a Sky Origin ancestor and have a Yuan spirit to protect you? You are simply too arrogant. He was even more arrogant than when he despised Wang Lu over the medicinal pill. He was simply courting death. He was 100% courting death. Then you've chosen the latter. Mu Yuan's eyes instantly narrowed, seemingly transforming into a cold glint. The surrounding aura also instantly became turbulent. Li Tianqing didn't make a move. Sun Jinglei was blocking him, but Li Tianqing also knew that there was another person. Boom! All of a sudden, a surging aura attacked from behind Li Zongjio. This power was as vast as the ocean and bottomless. It easily blocked all of Mu Yuan's elemental energy, which had turned into a sharp blade. An elderly figure appeared in front of Li Zongjio. His body was stooped and he was as immovable as a mountain. The old man was exactly 5 meters away from Li Zongjio. Chapter 33. Bai Luoxue's eyes narrowed. From afar, she could feel that the aura from this elder was not any weaker than Mu Yuan's. In fact, she could even feel a vigorous vitality from this elder's body. This was a transformation that had reached the pinnacle of power. In fact, the Yuan power within his body had already formed a unique reincarnation cycle with this world. Under this reincarnation cycle, he was able to ensure that his aura was complete. Mu Yuan? You are merely at the Yuan general stage. This is not the place for you to behave atrociously. Lin Song slowly said. After this breakthrough, his aura had become extremely different. Given Mu Yuan's strength, if they had met 3 days ago, he might not have been Lin Song's match. However, things were different now. The majestic aura within his body displayed his absolute strength. Against the person before him, he could absolutely crush him. Yuan General Stage. When Mu Yuan saw the aura released by Lin Song, he was immediately stunned. However, a look of ecstasy quickly appeared on his face. Looks like you have just made a breakthrough. This is just what I want. Once I devour your flesh, I will naturally become a true Yuan general. After Mu Yuan carefully sensed his aura, a look of pleasant surprise appeared on his face. Although Lin Song's strength was overwhelming, Mu Yuan was not worried. Instead, he became excited, as if he had found a treasure. It turned out that Mu Yuan had cultivated a Yuan Sutra called Blood Yuan Art. If he wanted to make a breakthrough, he would have to absorb powerful blood in order to continuously make breakthroughs. Like Lin Song, who had just made a breakthrough, this effect was the best for Mu Yuan. It was convenient to absorb, and also easier to hunt. Ha, you sure talk big. Lin Song was all alone, while a short dagger appeared in Mu Yuan's hand. Scarlet, red, and turbid Yuan powers swirled around his body. Suddenly, Mu Yuan's figure dashed forward. Boom! The dagger in his hand was like a cold flash as it swept towards Lin Song. Compared to Li Zongjio, he was more interested in Lin Song. Thunder crash! Sun Jinglei suddenly attacked, charging towards Li Zongjio. However, how could Li Tianqing, who had been targeting Sun Jinglei, allow Sun Jinglei to succeed? He immediately used Lion Roar to intercept. Boom! A tyrannical fluctuation swept over. Take down Li Zongjio. Sun Qiu made a gesture. Although he couldn't speak right now, the Sun family was able to understand his gesture. Follow me. Sun Bin also jumped up from the bottom of the stage with his men and immediately charged towards Li Zongjio. Li Gui led the experts that the Li family had prepared and charged forward. Both sides were engaged in a chaotic battle. Li Zongjio stood on top of the golden cauldron. Below him, Wang Lu no longer had the strength to struggle. After all, the cauldron was too heavy. Coupled with his own strength, It was difficult for him to break free. Clang, clang, clang. The sounds of fighting continued. The battle between the Li family and the Sun family was ignited so quickly. No one would have thought that two of the four major families of the Luoxia city would directly start a fight. Roar! Sun Qiu's figure leaped out from the crowd. No one could stop Sun Qiu. After all, he was a second-grade Yuan master. His strength wasn't something that could be stopped by anyone. Not everyone was like Lin Song, who could easily defeat Sun Qiu. Zongjiu, be careful. Li Yun, who was dealing with a disciple of the Sun family, quickly shouted. The opponent's elder actually launched a sneak attack on Li Zongjiu. Sun Qiu already had the intention to kill Li Zongjiu. Now that there was such a good opportunity, how could he let it go? The expert that Li Zongjiu relied on the most had already been delayed. Naturally, Sun Qiu wouldn't be polite and directly rushed out. In Sun Qiu's hand, there was a cold spring sword. Sun Qiu had spent a lot of money to forge this sword. When the sword was forged, it was tempered with the water of the cold spring. The solidified sword was even colder, heavier, and more tenacious. One could even feel a trace of bone-piercing intent from the sword. When Li Zongjiu saw Sun Qiu's attack, he smiled disdainfully. With a tap of his foot, his figure flew out and opened his hand. A gust of wind burst out. In Li Zongjiu's hand, there was actually a golden light blooming. As the golden light lingered in the center of his palm. In the next moment, it reached towards the cold spring sword that was slashing down. Clang! Li Zongjiu stretched out his hand and directly caught the cold spring sword. The yuan force in his body shook, and his wrist instantly exerted force. The cold spring treasured sword in his hand was like a biscuit, directly shattering into pieces. Die! Li Zongjiu pinched the broken sword and sent it into Sun Qiu's throat. Plop! Sun Qiu immediately knelt on the golden cauldron. Li Zongjiu's palm slapped the top of Sun Qiu's head, and suddenly a huge suction force was released. Sun Qiu's neck had clearly been pierced by the sword, but not a single drop of blood dripped down. All of it flowed in reverse, directly entering Li Zongjiu's palm. His eyelids rolled up, and his eyeballs were squeezed to the top of his head. Sun Qiu could only open his mouth to breathe, but he was unable to cry out in pain. Plop! After killing Sun Qiu, a blood bead appeared in Li Zongjiu's hand. Sun Qiu's shriveled body finally turned into a pile of trash and rolled on the ground. Li Zongjiu kept the blood bead. For Li Zongjiu to be able to condense the blood of a Yuan master expert into a snow bead, it was a good improvement. The purity of this blood bead was also very high. Just as Li Zongjiu killed Sun Qiu. Suddenly, a cold gust of air came from behind him. Bang! Li Zongjiu's figure flew up, and the sword energy landed on the golden cauldron, causing a violent tremor. A figure landed on the golden cauldron. He was dressed like a scholar, and he held a white steel sword in his hand. It was the 3 fatal swords that Lin Song threw out in the elixir hall that day. Sun Jinsen. That day, when Lin Song threw him out, he was seriously injured. However, under the care of the Sun family, he quickly recovered. Today, Sun Zhenglei had given him a mission to hide in the crowd and prepare to kill Li Juyen at any time. Originally, it was to assassinate the alchemy elder. However, after seeing Li Zongjiu kill Elder Sun Qiu, Sun Jiansan couldn't help it. Sun Jiansan couldn't help it. Being from the same family, Sun Qiu could be considered Sun Jiansan's cousin. However, it was still too late. Li Zongjiu killed Sun Qiu. Bai Luoxue and the others were shocked. At this moment, they had already retreated far away under the escort of Bai Cheng and the others. With such a chaotic situation, no one could predict what would happen. Chapter 34. Bai Luoxue was well aware of Sun Qiu's strength. There were only a few Yuan master-level experts in the Sun family. Although Sun Qiu's character wasn't good, he was still able to make a living in Luoxia City for the sake of the Sun family. Of course, the most important reason why everyone gave him face was because Sun Qiu's strength could be ranked in the top 5 of the Sun family. But just now, Bai Luoxue saw something. Li Zongjiu, who was only 16 years old, had directly crippled the Sun family's top 5 experts. What did this mean? However, Sun Jiansan, who was hiding in the crowd, suddenly attacked. Would Li Zongjio be able to defeat the third-ranked expert of the Sun family? Li Yun had just seen Li Zongjio kill Sun Qiu, but before she could rejoice for too long, she saw the Sun family's fatal three swords attack. He was the third-ranked expert of the Sun family. Even in the Li family, only the Grand Elder was a match for him. If it had been 3 days ago, Li Zongjio would have needed to expend some effort to deal with Sun Jiansan. However, it wouldn't be difficult for Li Zongjio to kill him now. Sun Jiansan couldn't let Li Zongjio escape so easily. He immediately leaped and charged towards Li Zongjio. Sword qi circulated in his hand, as if he had already set up sharp sword qi around Li Zongjio. When this sword qi was displayed, the surroundings became a dead end. Li Zongjio had nowhere to retreat. He could only face the sword qi head-on. Sun Jiansan's eyes carried a trace of coldness. If a child could easily escape from his sword, he, Sun Jiansan, wouldn't be able to stay in Luoxia City. He only needed one sword to deal with Li Zongjio. This sword is called Piercing the Four Walls. The Sun Jiansan roared, and the sword in his hand seemed to transform into 1,000 sharp thorns. Li Zongjio raised one hand and placed the other on the back of his hand. Lin Song, who had originally wanted to come to the rescue, could only shake his head and sigh when he saw that Li Zongjio was actually such a show-off. Then he continued to fight with Mu Yuan. Although Mu Yuan had forcefully advanced to the Yuan general level, his combat experience was still richer than Lin Song's. Moreover, Mu Yuan was good at some insidious tricks. He liked to attack from behind. His fighting style was also to run away as soon as he touched the opponent. Therefore, it would take some time to get rid of Mu Yuan. When Sun Jiansan made his move, Lin Song was also a bit nervous. If he only focused on fighting the enemy and allowed Li Zongjio to die, then he would be too incompetent as a slave. However, when he saw that Li Zongjio was such a show-off, he felt relieved. Sun Jiansan was also angered by Li Zongjio's actions. Since Li Zongjio had underestimated him, then he would let Li Zongjio know what it meant to be too late to regret. The strength of his hand and the output of his Yuan power increased by 50%. He directly attacked Li Zongjio. Boom! Li Zongjio smiled disdainfully. This kind of trick was simply child's play in his eyes. In his previous life, as the evil lord, he had met gods, killed gods, and beheaded demons. He had seen all kinds of insidious and vicious tricks. In the face of Sun Jiansan's sword, he could find the flaw with just a glance. Blood palm. When Li Zongjio circulated the Yuan power in his body, the elemental pearl in his body trembled slightly. Li Zongjio felt that the blood dragon origin spirit wanted to come out, but it was suppressed by Li Zongjio. After all, the origin spirit was his own hidden trick. If it was exposed too early, it would definitely cause some unnecessary trouble. The blood palm, which carried a strong blood qi, was sent out. Boom! Li Zongjio's palm actually bypassed all the sword moves and accurately hit the hilt of Sun Jiansan's sword. Suddenly, the hand holding the hilt loosened, and the sword in his hand was directly sent flying. How is this possible? Sun Jiansan's face was suddenly filled with shock. This could be said to be his only weak point. However, how did Li Zongjio find it? Li Zongjio actually found his weak point so easily and even blasted his sword away. Li Zongjio sent Sun Jiansan's sword flying, which naturally meant that he broke Sun Jiansan's sword move. Then he threw out a punch and directly blew up one of Sun Jiansan's eyeballs. Bang! Sun Jiansan fell to the ground. His hands covered his eyes as he roared in pain. Li Zongjio took advantage of the situation and injected his Yuan power into Sun Jiansan's body. Not only did it blow up Sun Jiansan's eyeballs, but it also destroyed half of his face's nerves. Li Zongjio, you better kneel down now. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Turning around, it turned out that Li Yun was actually caught by Sun Bin in this chaotic battle. At this moment, Sun Bin grabbed Li Yun's hair with one hand and held the sword in his other hand against Li Yun's neck. The sharp blade of the sword cut a bloody line on Li Yun's white and tender neck. You're very arrogant. Let's see how arrogant you can be. Sun Bin thought that he had grasped Li Zongjio's lifeline. Li Yun was also constantly struggling. Ignore me, kill him, Li Yun shouted. At this moment, if she became a hostage, it would definitely bring a lot of trouble to these people. It would be better if she died in a few days. After that, there would be nothing that could affect Li Zongjio and the others. Li Zongjio, I've lost 3 times. You have to destroy your own Yuan Qi. Otherwise, I'll kill her. You better think carefully. Sun Bin roared in a low voice. There was a trace of madness in his eyes. At this moment he couldn't care less about so many things. The hatred in his heart also filled Sun Bin's eyes. As long as he could make Li Zongjio die here, no matter what he had to do, it didn't matter. You're really reckless. Li Zongjio couldn't help but shake his head. This kind of method was what made Li Zongjio most angry. One must know that in his previous life, Li Zongjio had harmed his entire family. This was what Li Zongjio felt most guilty about. In this life, what Li Zongjio needed to do was to protect his family. However, this Sun Bin had already touched Li Zongjio's bottom line. The heavenly void god record quietly activated. In Li Zongjio's eyes, a vortex seemed to have appeared. Sun Bin, who was originally fiercely staring at Li Zongjio, suddenly saw the vortex that appeared in Li Zongjio's eyes. Suddenly, he felt as if the world was spinning and his body was empty. His mind was also in a mess and he didn't know where to go. Suddenly, Sun Bin woke up and realized that he was confronting Li Zongjio. At the same time, he had Li Yun as a hostage. Wait, where's Li Yun? Sun Bin lowered his head and saw that Li Yun's figure had disappeared. Chapter 35. How is this possible? Sun Bin was immediately shocked. The hostage in his hand had actually disappeared in such a blink of an eye. In the next moment, Sun Bin saw an extremely familiar figure standing in front of him. It was Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio. Sun Bin subconsciously wanted to stab Li Zongjio with the sword in his hand. However, when he raised his hand, he realized that the sword in his hand had disappeared. Are you using it? Li Zongjio sneered. Then, the sword in his hand slashed towards Sun Bin's arm. This seemingly simple slash directly cut off Sun Bin's wrist. Crush. Fresh blood immediately gushed out. Blood gushed out from the wound where the wrist was cut off. My hand. My hand. Your mouth stinks too. Li Zongjio growled. With a swoosh, the sword in his hand directly pierced into Sun Bin's mouth. With a twist of the sword, countless bloody scars appeared in Sun Bin's mouth. At the same time, Sun Bin's tongue was also smashed into a pile of minced meat. When the sword was pulled out, Sun Bin was already kneeling on the ground. He spat out his chopped tongue. Crush. The ground was also covered in blood. Although they had already retreated far away, Bai Luoxue and the others could not help but shut their mouths when they saw this scene. Li Zongjio seemed to like cutting off people's tongues. Oh my god, this brat is so cruel. If he is in power in the future, he will definitely be a violent person. When Bai Tianju saw Li Zongjio's actions, he immediately lashed out. Such a cruel method did not even kill Sun Bin. Sun Bin was still alive, and he was still gasping for breath. However, Bai Luoxue could not see any expression of difficulty on Li Zongjio's face. It was as if this was an extremely simple matter. Who exactly was this Li Zongjio? Bin. When Sun Zhenglei saw that one of his son's hands had been chopped off by Li Zongjio and that his mouth had been severely injured, any father would be moved by such a bloody scene. Li Tianqing, the Sun family and your Li family will fight to the death. The thunderclap Yuan Qi in his body suddenly burst out. It actually forced Li Tianqing back half a step. Fortunately, the fire lion in his body was rich and vigorous, so he wasn't injured. Sun Zhenglei growled and charged towards Li Zongjio and Sun Bin. The people along the way were all sent flying by Sun Zhenglei's aura. Die, Li Zongjio. You hurt my son, so don't even think about living today. Vast sky thunderstrike. A ball of intense lightning suddenly burst out from Sun Zhenglei's hand. It spread out and charged towards Li Zongjio. The violent lightning aura was extraordinary. Li Zongjio reached out and grabbed Sun Bin, who was kneeling on the ground, and threw him towards the lightning released by Sun Zhenglei. Damn it! Sun Zhenglei immediately cursed and the lightning in his hand instantly extinguished. After dispersing all the origin energy in his body, he finally managed to grab Sun Bin. Retreat. Sun Jinglei didn't care so much. He would return to the family first. The situation here was too chaotic. Most importantly, Sun Bin was seriously injured. If he wasn't brought back for treatment, then Sun Bin might become a cripple. When did I say that you can leave? Sun Jinglei wanted to leave, but Li Tianqing was the first to disagree. Since the situation had already turned out like this, how could it end so simply? Li Tianqing immediately blasted out a Fire Lion Yuan Qi and blocked Sun Jinglei's path of retreat. Li Tianqing, you can't do this. You want to swallow my Sun family? Your Li family doesn't have the strength to do so. Sun Jinglei quickly retreated a few steps and quietly approached Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio's talent was too terrifying. If Li Zongjio was allowed to grow without any worries, it would be a catastrophe for the Sun family in the future. They had to kill him. Given the current situation, if they wanted to leave this place, they first needed to have a considerable bargaining chip. Even the appearance of the mysterious Yuan general-level powerhouse was because of Li Zongjio. As long as they took down Li Zongjio, everything would be easy to deal with. Sun Jinglei still had this bit of foresight. However, Sun Jinglei overestimated himself and underestimated Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio had already seen through Sun Jinglei's intentions and actually took the initiative to attack Sun Jinglei. Since you want to capture me, let's see if you have the ability to do so. Blood Extinguishing Palm. After Li Zongjio's Yuan Qi entered the Yuan master boundary, it became easier for him to use this grade 2 Yuan skill. Of course, Li Zongjio didn't use the power of the Yuan spirit. If Li Zongjio used the power of the Blood Dragon Yuan spirit, the Blood Extinguishing Palm would be comparable to a grade 7 or even grade 8 Yuan master boundary. Boom! Sun Jinglei and Li Zongjio's palms collided. However, Sun Jinglei's figure was sent flying in an instant, slamming heavily on the ground. Sun Bin, who was originally hugging Li Zongjio, was also sent flying. He struggled on the ground for a while, but in the end he couldn't get up. I'll kill you! Thunderhawk kill! At that moment, Sun Jinglei no longer cared about anything else. Instead, he unleashed his strongest move. Once the Thunderhawk kill was unleashed, the aura within a radius of 100 meters seemingly stirred up, transforming into an extremely intense clump of energy. One could even smell the restless aura in the air. The thunderous Yuan Qi turned into a Thunderhawk and pounced on Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio originally wanted to dodge this tyrannical move, but he suddenly thought of his ancient golden tyrannical body technique. The ancient golden tyrannical body technique relied on absorbing energy to create an unparalleled body. The power of the Thunderhawk should be able to withstand it. Li Zongjio immediately let out a low roar and didn't dodge. He just stood there and waited for the Thunderhawk to land. Zongjio! Li Tianqing exclaimed. With Li Zongjio's strength, he could have dodged the attack, but he just stood there motionlessly. Why was that? At the same time, Li Tianqing also launched a move towards Sun Jinglei. Boom! The Thunderhawk devoured Li Zongjio, but it was instantly blown away by the power of lightning. It was like a man of lightning was sent flying to the side. That guy! Bai Luoxue was shocked when she saw Li Zongjio get hit. This Li Zongjio's performance wasn't that bad. He seemed to have some potential a moment ago. How could he be killed in the blink of an eye? Ha, I knew it. This brat won't live for long. Bai Tianju laughed loudly. Sun Jinglei, if I don't destroy your Sun family today, I won't call myself Li. Li Tianqing roared. His furious roar poured all of his energy onto Sun Jinglei's body. Furious Lion Flame. The Li family's secret technique was not passed down to outsiders. It was a secret technique that only the head of the family could cultivate. In an instant, Li Tianqing's Yuan Qi aura rose by 2 grades. From the 4th grade to the 6th grade in an instant. Chapter 36. Originally, the Raging Lion Fire could only forcibly raise one's cultivation level by 1 level. However, for some unknown reason, perhaps it was because of the Tiger Essence amplifying elixir that Li Zongjio had given him, which had made Li Tianqing's body full of energy. That was why such a situation had occurred. As the energy surged into his body, Li Tianqing's aura also skyrocketed. Sun Jinglei's eyes widened when he saw Li Tianqing perform this move. However, a look of ecstasy soon appeared on his face. "Ha, Li Tianqing, you're digging your own grave. I wanted to keep you alive for a few more days, but you forced yourself to perform this move. Do you feel like your body is being pierced by thousands of needles now?" After Li Tianqing performed this move, he felt a little strange. He couldn't control his own strength. At the same time, a tingling sensation spread throughout his body. Although his aura had increased, he could no longer condense his yuan power. Otherwise, Li Tianqing would have been pierced by his own yuan power before he performed this move. Cough cough. Damn it. You poisoned me. Li Tianqing suddenly realized something. The furious lion flame could be hidden in the body. When the furious lion flame was performed, it would be triggered again. Only a top-secret pill could achieve such a situation. This was developed by the Li family, but the recipe was destroyed a long time ago. The reason why the Li family made such a research was to strengthen the secret technique of the raging lion's flame. The only people who knew about this pill recipe were the great elders' family. Not good. Cough cough. As Li Tianqing performed the furious lion flame, the medicinal effect took effect. If Li Tianqing forcefully attacked, his life would be taken in an instant. Family head. Eat this origin-returning pill first. Li Jiuyan hurried to Li Tianqing's side and fed him a pill. This pill was also used to adjust Li Tianqing's condition. As the Li family's alchemy elder, Li Jiuyan could see at a glance that Li Tianqing's current condition wasn't optimistic. This traitor! I didn't expect him to take this out. Li Tianqing cursed in his heart. This was something that could almost cause the destruction of the Li family. It was obviously destroyed, but these people were disloyal and must have preserved it. Hee, Li Tianqing, you didn't expect this, did you? The feeling of being betrayed by your own people? What do you think? Sun Jinglei laughed out loud. His eyes were filled with viciousness. If he didn't kill Li Tianqing now, what was he waiting for? Today, I want all of you from the Li clan to die here. Sun Jinglei rushed towards Li Tianqing, but before he could kill Li Tianqing, he felt a gust of wind behind him. However, he didn't feel the slightest fluctuation of yuan qi. He couldn't help but turn his head and see a rock smashing into his head. Bang! A stone exploded on Sun Jinglei's forehead. Sun Jinglei's gaze suddenly focused in front of him. He saw a young man crawling out from the ruins. His clothes were already tattered and charred. There were some burn marks on his face, but after wiping it with his hand, it was just a layer of dead skin. Is this all you've got? Li Zongjio said. He used his hand to wipe off the layer of black on his face. Otherwise, there was no way to recognize Li Zongjio. When the Thunderhawk break surged into his body, the feeling was really not ordinary. Even though Li Zongjio had experienced a lot of pain in his previous life, when this kind of energy entered his body, Li Zongjio was still quite numb. However, the power of the ancient golden tyrant body art was indeed extraordinary. In such a short period of time, Li Zongjio had already absorbed the power of these thunderbolts. After getting up, he realized that his physical strength had reached the realm of a yuan qi practitioner. Some cultivators didn't use the yuan force to fight, but used it to refine their bodies. Such a person's physical strength was extraordinarily powerful. They could even fight against a meta beast with their physical body alone. That wasn't the ordinary kind of terrifying. However, this kind of extreme method of cultivation was impossible to succeed unless one was born with a physique that was superior to ordinary people and was blessed with exceptional resources. Ordinary people's cultivation would at most stop at the yuan qi practitioner realm. Moreover, the physical body of an expert who cultivated this type of yuan power would also experience different degrees of improvement and transformation under the refinement of yuan power over the years. You can still stand up after taking my Thunderhawk break. The Thunderhawk break was the Sun family's grade 3 yuan skill. Similarly, only those at the family head level could cultivate it. It was extremely powerful. However, it made sense. If Li Zongjio was hit by the Thunderhawk break, he would have been blasted into pieces on the spot. There wouldn't be a situation where he was blasted away. Just now, Li Zongjio didn't explode on the spot, but was blasted away. Previously, he thought that it was because Li Zongjio had some defensive equipment on him. However, now it seemed that Li Zongjio had clearly taken this move. With your ability, you are indeed a little lacking if you want to kill your grandfather, Li Zongjio said. At the same time, he picked up a stone from the ground. After taking 2 steps forward, his body suddenly accelerated and rushed towards Sun Jinglei. Sush. One more time and only death awaits you. Even your father can't kill me. You think you can? Sun Jinglei sneered. Li Zongjio thought too highly of himself. Immediately, the lightning-shocking Yuan Qi in his body surged and urged Sun Jinglei's body to approach Li Zongjio. The lightning-shocking Yuan Qi in his body was like an octopus. The lightning tentacles surged towards Li Zongjio. However, Li Zongjio threw the stone in his hand. Immediately, the stone attracted the attention of the lightning. It actually attracted all the lightning-shocking Yuan Qi to another place. What? That works too. Fall down for me. Just as Sun Jinglei was shocked, Li Zongjio's body had already closed in. His fist carried the sound of breaking wind as it suddenly smashed towards Sun Jinglei's face. Bang! Sun Jinglei's protective Yuan Qi was directly broken by Li Zongjio. A fist landed on his face. Sun Jinglei felt that half of his face was about to collapse. Everything was out of his control. 2 teeth flew out. Swoosh! Li Zongjio did not stop attacking. Similarly, a blood-extinguishing palm landed on Sun Jinglei's chest. Suddenly, a loud bang sounded. Sun Jinglei's chest exploded and a bloody wound appeared. His body knelt on the ground and spat out blood. He lowered his head and looked up at Li Zongjio with difficulty. Then he looked at his chest and finally fell down with a plop. Sun Jinglei, dead. Chapter 37. Li Zongjio's swift action caught many people off guard. Li Tianqing also stood in place, staring blankly at Sun Jinglei, who was lying on the ground and bleeding profusely. This old rival of his for more than 10 years was now lying on the ground like a dead dog. Although Li Tianqing didn't put Sun Jinglei in his eyes, if his eyes were only limited to Sun Jinglei and the Sun family, then his Li family was destined to be a small force entrenched in this Luoxia city. It would never be possible for him to rise up. On the Saint Martial continent, if you don't advance courageously and continue to make breakthroughs in this adversity, then you'll definitely be swallowed by the counterattack. If you don't advance, then you'll just wait to be eaten clean. Sun Jinglei is dead. People of the Sun family, surrender and I won't kill you. Li Tianqing immediately shouted in anger. Many people of the Sun family in the surroundings also quickly fled. Those who were relatively smart knew to go back and pack up their things before leaving. However, there were also some who weren't very smart. They all put down the weapons in their hands, mainly because most of them didn't have a chance to escape. They were surrounded by Li Tianqing and his men. One by one, they all laid down their weapons and surrendered. Boom! Suddenly, there was a strong vibration. The tearing sound in the air almost penetrated the eardrums, causing everyone to cover their ears. This kind of stimulating sound wasn't something that ordinary people could resist. Li Zongjio looked up at the sky. 2 figures were rapidly falling. The 2 of them had rushed into the sky while fighting, but now it seemed that Lin Song had no way to take down Mu Yuan. Mu Yuan saw that the people of the Sun family had been defeated, and with Lin Song, a Yuan general expert blocking in front of him, it was impossible for him to save Wang Lu today. After colliding with Lin Song, he took a few steps back and stared at Li Tianqing. This insignificant family actually dares to be my enemy. People of the Li family, listen up. In the next 3 months, I will take your lives one by one in the dark. Mu Yuan said coldly. Damned old man, you can protect them for a lifetime, but can you protect them for a lifetime? Ha! As Mu Yuan's voice faded, his figure soared into the sky, intending to escape. However, right at that moment, a white figure was rapidly approaching. The exquisiteness of this movement technique even surpassed Mu Yuan's. As an assassin, Mu Yuan was naturally more proficient in his mysterious footwork. Being able to grasp such a mysterious agility skill at such a level was naturally the reason why Mu Yuan was so popular. Previously, Lin Song had also suffered because of this agility skill. Even though Lin Song's Yuan power was more powerful than Mu Yuan's by a level, his agility skill could not keep up. His speed wasn't as fast as the other party. Therefore, if Mu Yuan wanted to leave, he could not stop him. The person who rushed out was naturally Li Zongjio. In front of the evil lord, how could anyone he wanted to kill escape? Blood Frenzy Guide. Li Zongjio's figure chased after Mu Yuan. His agility skill was so fast that he appeared behind Mu Yuan in an instant. At the same time, Li Zongjio directly activated his own aura. After his cultivation reached the Yuan Master level, he once again used the Blood Frenzy Guide. At the same time, Li Zongjio threw a blood bead into his mouth. His aura instantly erupted. Grade 2 Yuan Master. Grade 3 Yuan Master. Grade 4 Yuan Master. Grade 5 Yuan Master. After raising his aura to Grade 5, it finally stopped. This aura even surpassed Li Tianqing's. Li Tianqing, who was not far away, widened his eyes when he saw the changes in Li Zongjio's aura. Oh my god, what medicine did he take to be so fierce? Elder Li Juyen could not help but open his mouth wide. Looking at the changes in Li Zongjio's body, his face was filled with disbelief. How could there be such an elixir? It must be some kind of secret skill. It was just that Li Zongjio's secret skill was simply too terrifying. Ridiculous! Mu Yuan's eyes released a cold, murderous intent. Even Lin Song did not dare to chase after him. Do you think that just because you have mastered a little trick, you can fight against someone who is so much higher than you? If you want to be a hero, then you should be prepared to die a tragic death. Ghost Shadow Kill. Mu Yuan waved the dagger in his hand. The dagger swayed and dozens of light shadows appeared, directly attacking Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio directly activated his Yuan force. Facing the dozens of light shadows, his hand movements easily broke them. Swoosh, swoosh. In terms of hand speed, Li Zongjio was faster. Before Mu Yuan could see clearly, Li Zongjio had already broken his opponent's move. I haven't used this move in a long time. Evil Soul Eye. Li Zongjio's eyes suddenly turned completely black. In the instant that his eyes changed, Mu Yuan, who was preparing to go all out to kill Li Zongjio, suddenly froze on the spot. His eyes were dull, as if he had seen something incredible. And in this short moment, Li Zongjio's hand was like an eagle's claw, directly grabbing Mu Yuan's head. Die! Li Zongjio's 5 fingers moved, the power in his body surging out. Boom! Under Li Zongjio's angry roar, Mu Yuan's head was like a broken egg, crushed by Li Zongjio. Brain matter and blood splattered. The blood stained Li Zongjio's tattered clothes. However, at this moment, no one looked down on Li Zongjio just because his clothes were dirty and messy. Instead, they all kept quiet out of fear when they saw Li Zongjio's gaze. Lin Song's pupils shrank. He had fought bitterly with Mu Yuan just now, and there was not the slightest bit of exaggeration. Naturally, he knew how difficult it was to deal with Mu Yuan. However, such an opponent could not even last one move in front of Li Zongjio. How terrifying was Li Zongjio's strength? Lin Song did not dare to imagine. He had thought that after his strength had broken through to the primary general realm, he would be able to discuss and become good friends with Li Zongjio after protecting him for a period of time. He would no longer have to listen to Li Zongjio's orders. However, after witnessing Li Zongjio's strength, he realized that Li Zongjio had a hidden killer move that could kill him in an instant. Li Zongjio was not an ordinary person at all. The reason why he had made Lin Song a slave was probably to have an extra person to run errands for him. In fact, Li Zongjio's strength was enough to sweep through Luoxia City. What? Bai Luoxue could no longer keep her calm. Her mouth was wide open as she stared in disbelief at Li Zongjio, who was standing in the middle of the square with a pile of hair in his hand. Bai Tianju, who had been scolding Li Zongjio, no longer dared to speak after seeing this scene. He only dared to stare and even forgot to run away. Li Zongjio wiped the bloodstains on his hands on his clothes. The gaze in his eyes made people not dare to look straight at him. This was the aura of a king. Looking at the shocked and frightened gazes of these people, Lin Song was stunned. Li Zongjio heaved a sigh of relief. I, Li Zongjio, have returned to take revenge for my previous life. There was no need to explain so clearly to you. If there was a grudge, just kill it. Chapter 38. This was also Li Zongjio's objective. Even the people from the Sun family were baffled. Although they also had a secret plan, they hadn't really implemented it yet. How could they have been discovered? Lin Song and the others were already shocked by Li Zongjio's strength. No one knew how this young man, who was not even 17 years old, had such strength. Even his father, Li Tianqing, didn't know how Li Zongjio did it. However, Li Tianqing knew that Li Zongjio was still his son. As long as this didn't change, no matter how Li Zongjio changed, it didn't matter. Maybe it was the old ancestor spirit, or maybe Li Zongjio had a very wonderful adventure. These weren't important. As long as Li Zongjio thought for the family, that was what Li Tianqing wanted. No matter what, it didn't matter. I won't kill those who are willing to surrender to the Li family. If you don't want to surrender, you can go back to the Sun family. When I flatten the Sun family, your heads will roll. Li Tianqing said in a deep voice. As soon as these words came out, many of the Sun family's disciples also gave up resisting. Now that the situation was hopeless, the only way was to escape. But where could they escape to? If they refused to surrender to the Li family, then only death awaited them. It was not up to them to choose which family they were born into. But now, they were going to die because of their birth. For these people, it was very painful. This was almost a matter of no choice. However, Li Tianqing's words gave them a chance. After hearing Li Tianqing's words, some people also chose to raise their hands and surrender without hesitation. For them, it was fine as long as they could live. Those who liked to talk about dignity and whatnot should be left alone. Li Zongjio didn't interfere with these follow-up matters. Li Zongjio's appearance was only to help the family deal with these enemies. In this battle, Li Zongjio had killed many people and established a powerful and mysterious image. He was good at alchemy, good at killing, and decisive in his actions. Such a person, no matter where he went, would be a hero of a generation. Li Zongjio lifted the lid of the undying cauldron. Wang Lu, who was trapped under the undying cauldron, finally revealed his head. Brat, you're dead for sure. Muyuan, kill this man for me. After Wang Lu escaped, the first thing he did was to summon Muyuan to kill Li Zongjio first. This guy actually dared to target him and even attacked him. As a grade 2 alchemist, how could Wang Lu tolerate this? Only by killing Li Zongjio would he be able to vent his anger. However, after Wang Lu finished shouting, he discovered the strangeness of the surroundings. Many of the Sun family's people were kneeling on the ground, and the people standing around with swords and sabers in their hands were all members of the Li family. Behind him, there were many corpses lying on the ground. One of them, Wang Lu felt that it was very familiar. When he took a closer look, he was shocked to find that the dead person turned out to be the head of the Sun family. Sun Jingli, how did this brat die? However, this feeling of shock was not over yet. Not far away, he saw a headless corpse lying on the ground. The sight of the shattered skull gave one a headache. It was as if a claw had landed on one's head and would shatter it at any moment. However, the clothes on the body made Wang Lu even more shocked. Muyuan. Wang Lu's voice was almost out of balance. He could only express the shock in his heart with such a horrified look. This was simply a slap to Wang Lu's heart. Wang Lu felt as if he was about to suffocate. This was his trump card, a general-level powerhouse. He died just like that? This guy turned out to be a waste. Wang Lu couldn't wait to catch this Muyuan and interrogate him. What happened to the cold-faced killer, the arrogant killer? Aren't you just stirring up trouble? At this moment, Wang Lu seemed to understand something. His life seemed to have been left here. However, Wang Lu quickly thought that the reason why the other party didn't kill him was because they were afraid of his identity and his alchemy skills. One must know that Wang Lu had muddled along for so many years, and now he had finally muddled along to this point. He was even an influential member of the Northern Medicine City's Alchemist Alliance. Based on his identity, if anything happened to Wang Lu, the Northern Medicine Alliance would definitely not let Li Zongjio and the others off. Wang Lu couldn't help but become bolder when he thought of his backing. He, Li Tianqing, I'm a member of the Northern Medicine Alliance. If anything happens to me in this small Luoxia city, your Luoxia city will cease to exist. Don't you dare touch me! Wang Lu shouted in a low voice. There was a trace of coldness in his eyes. He was thinking in his heart that when he returned, he must kill these people. When he returned to the Northern Medicine City, none of these people would be able to survive. He would kill them all. Li Tianqing looked at Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio didn't say anything and directly kicked Wang Lu more than 10 meters away. Wang Lu pointed at Li Zongjio with difficulty and then fainted. Lock him up. Don't touch him for the time being. In addition, capture his disciple as well. Yes, young lord. Li Gue immediately accepted the order. Li Gue was completely convinced by the young lord in front of him. Since when did he have such a hardy battle? In this battle, he directly killed 2 of the opposing elders, and even the Sun family's patriarch was killed. At the same time, he also captured 2 elders alive. Sun Jiansen also chose to surrender. What else could he do if he didn't surrender? He just had to give him another slap on the neck. From today, it could be seen that the Sun clan's momentum was already gone. The Li clan had even invited a Yuan general-level powerhouse, so what else was impossible? Therefore, even if there was some feudal struggle, it would only cause them to feel grief for themselves. In today's world, not many people were willing to sacrifice their lives for an illusory family's honor. If they were younger, they might be able to do so. How should we deal with Wang Lu? Li Tianqing came to Li Zongjio. The poison in his body was only used to deal with the Fury Lion's fury. As long as he didn't use this secret skill, there would be no problem. However, this was equivalent to restricting Li Tianqing's ultimate move. If Wang Lu doesn't die, the Northern Medicine Alliance won't act recklessly. Let's stabilize it for the time being. When we can annex the Northern Medicine Alliance, we'll deal with him. Li Zongjio said. Although Li Zongjio was arrogant, he wouldn't speak without thinking. He wouldn't do things that he wasn't sure of. With the current strength of the Northern Medicine Alliance, it wouldn't be a big problem to call for a dozen or 20 Supreme General experts. Tomorrow, I'll talk to the Bai family's patriarch. Chapter 39. Bai family's patriarch. Since Li family had already made such a big move, they naturally had to be clear about their status. Therefore, when Bai Luoxue saw Li Zongjio kill Mu Yuan, she realized something and quickly left with her people. Many of the Li family's disciples were also injured in the battle. Fortunately, there were no casualties. The Li family won the battle. Those who originally had the mentality of watching a good show left one by one without saying anything. After all, they knew the seriousness of this matter. The Li family destroyed the Sun family. In the future, the sky of Luoxia City would change. From the 4 great families to the 3 great families, maybe in the future, Luoxia City would become the sole great family. It wasn't impossible for such a situation to occur. Therefore, some small families that originally maintained strategic cooperation with the Sun family all switched to the Li family's embrace. Some of the more arrogant herb suppliers also rushed to be first with a smile on their faces. As for Sun family's headquarters, Li family did not confiscate it for the time being. However, Sun family did not dare to do anything. They could only move the dead body back. Moreover, they did not dare to report it. If they reported it, the City Lord Mansion might intervene. However, if they did not report it, the City Lord Mansion would not say anything. After all, the disputes between the forces of Jianghu were seen by everyone. As long as the City Lord Mansion benefited, it was enough. Of course, there were many voices in the City Lord Mansion. This Li family is really arrogant. They actually dared to fight in the medicine refining square. City Lord, this Li clan must be suppressed. Otherwise, it's extremely likely that the situation of the Li clan dominating Sunset City will appear in the future. The one who spoke was the #1 advisor of Luoxia City's City Lord Mansion, Ying Lai. Ying Lai was a rare advisor. He was far-sighted and meticulous. Now, the layout of Luoxia City was mostly controlled by Ying Lai. Luoxia City's city lord Yi Chao glanced at Ying Lai. If Li family wants to be the sole great family, no matter what, they have to get the city lord mansion's approval. First, we have to figure out the matter of Li family's Li Zongjio and that Yuan general-level expert. Where did that Yuan general-level expert come from? Yi Chao spoke. Ying Lai's eyes flashed with a strange light. However, he quickly hid himself. I've already sent someone to investigate. That's right. Is there any news about Tianshui in the Imperial Martial Pavilion? Yi Chao asked. Yi Tianshui, Yi Chao's only daughter, was the only daughter of this generation. She was also protected by Yi Chao. However, Yi Tianshui's talent was very strong. In addition, Yi Tianshui was very competitive. Therefore, she resolutely entered the second largest Yuanwu institution under the imperial court. Chaowu Pavilion. Not yet, but there's news that Miss has entered the Yao Wu Hall of the Imperial Martial Pavilion to further her studies. The Glory Martial Hall is the name of the Imperial Martial Pavilion's inner pavilion. Being able to enter the Glory Martial Hall can be considered as bringing honor to one's ancestors. Yi Chao let out a long sigh. He had not expected his daughter to have such talent to enter the Ancient Martial Hall and the Ancient Martial Hall. In another half a year, the Ascension Assembly jointly organized by the Imperial Martial Pavilion, the Sacred Flame Sword Pavilion, and the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor will begin. Right now, Tianshui should be working hard in seclusion, Yi Chao thought to himself. The Ascension Assembly was targeted at all the young talents in the world. Anyone could participate. As long as one had the strength and the qualifications to do so, one only needed to stand on the arena. The ice and fire restoration elixir refined by Li Zongjio today is in the hands of the Bai family? Yi Chao asked. Yes. Go buy it and send it to Tianshui. Although Yi Chao was far away in Luoxia City, he was thinking of ways to send the best things to his precious daughter. He did not know if Tianshui would still be interested in these elixirs. The Bai family was in a mess at the moment. After the big meeting, there would be a small meeting. After the small meeting, there would be a big meeting. Without exception, it was how to deal with the Li family. The Li family was determined to annex the Sun family. Based on the strength that they had displayed today, it was not easy to deal with them. If the Sun family was annihilated, who would be next? It's impossible to take the initiative to seek peace. It's impossible for us to take the initiative to seek peace in this lifetime. Our Bai family has a foundation of decades. Are we going to surrender just because of a mere general from the Li family? A mere Li Zongjio? I don't believe that the Li family can swallow such a huge family business. An elder of the Bai family said. That's right. The elder is right. I think that Li Zongjio is also a cruel and tyrannical person. If we surrender to them, who knows what kind of state our Bai family will be in. We have to get rid of this kind of scum. In my opinion, we should join forces with the Gu family and wipe out the Li family. Bai Tianju, who was at the side, quickly stood up and said, Li Zongjio was too terrifying. How could they let such a person live? They had to find a way to kill Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio's strength was one thing, but more importantly, Li Zongjio's performance was extremely dazzling. It was a level that Bai Tianju couldn't reach. Wasn't such a person directly stepping on Bai Tianju's head? Bai Tianju had to eliminate him. Family head, Lord Ying Lai from the City Lord Mansion is here. Just as these elders were discussing, a guard came to report to them. Someone from the City Lord Mansion was here. This immediately made the eyes of the Bai family light up. The Bai family head, Bai Wuheng quickly said, invite him in. Bai Luoxue glanced at Elder Bai Cheng beside her. During the meeting tonight, Bai Luoxue did not say anything because she was trying her best to analyze Li Zongjio's character and what he would do next. Although Elder Bai Cheng did not help much at that time, he still made Li Zongjio say something. Bai Luoxue would remember this favor. If he is a wolf, he will definitely devour everything in Luoxia City. If he is a dragon, Luoxia City is nothing to him, Li family. Li Zongjio and the others returned to the family. However, he realized that Li Changjiang had actually disappeared. Obviously, he had received news before this. Once Li Tianqing's matter was exposed, there was no doubt that Li Changjiang would not be able to escape suspicion. They only needed to casually investigate to find out who poisoned him. Aren't you looking for your granddaughter? Find Li Changjiang and you can find your granddaughter, Li Zongjio said to Lin Song. In his previous life, although Li Zongjio knew about Lin Song's granddaughter, he did not know that Li Changjiang had colluded with Lu Shun and the others. In the end, he only killed Li Changjiang. It wasn't until a long time later that they discovered that there was actually an extremely secretive force behind the whole thing that was instigating all of this. Even Li Zongjio did not know much about this force. Therefore, he wanted to borrow Lin Song's hand to make a move. Li Zongjio deliberately let Li Changjiang go in order to find this clue. Thank you, young master. Speaking of his granddaughter, Lin Song's eyes suddenly lit up. Immediately, he did not wait any longer. He turned around and flew away. With the resources of Wuxue Elixir Sect, it was not difficult to find a person. Chapter 40. Li Zongjio's battle in the Alchemy Square could be said to have become famous. Everyone knew that the Li family had produced a ruthless and powerful young master. Moreover, he seemed to be extremely good at alchemy. After all, the Li family itself was an alchemy family. Although it was only famous in this small Luoxia city, it was still somewhat famous. The Sun family's patriarch was eliminated, and now, they were already feeling like they were unable to recover from this setback. The Li family didn't directly uproot the Sun family. Instead, they let their businesses gradually swallow up the Sun family's businesses and buy them at an extremely low price. From this point of view, they were also gradually encroaching on the Sun family. In the end, they would also take over the Sun family's most glorious forging industry. If he exterminated the Sun family, it might cause a huge commotion. Instead, it would be like boiling a frog in warm water, forcing the Sun family to leave on their own accord. When they reached the wilderness, it would be relatively easier to carry out the plan of eliminating the Sun family. After all, this was still under the nose of the Xingyan dynasty. If the dynasty was angry, then this matter would not be so easy to solve. Such a behemoth, even a casual sneeze would cause the earth to shake. Young master, someone from the Gu family is looking for you. Li Gui's battle yesterday was also quite carefree. Now, when he looked at Li Zongjio, it was as if he was looking at the future head of the family. If he hadn't prepared so many people in advance and acquired the assets of the Sun family immediately after Sun Jinglei's death, Li Gui wouldn't have been able to do so. Moreover, so many experts of the Sun family were directly captured by the Li family. Now, they were also being trained. Li Zongjio himself experienced the battle yesterday. After resting for a day, his condition could be considered to have recovered. The Gu family was looking for him? The Gu family was also one of the 4 major families. It seemed to be very influential in this city. However, the Gu family usually did not seem to have any achievements, which made people feel very embarrassed. With the strength of the Gu family, if it was in normal times, it would not even be regarded as an ordinary family force. However, it was precisely because of the existence of one person in the Gu clan. It was this person who supported the Gu family's overall standard. This person was the old master of the Gu clan. He was also a retired soldier of the Xingyan dynasty's Xuanwu army. Although he was just an ordinary soldier because he belonged to the Xuanwu army, his clan was still able to survive in Luoxia city. The Xuanwu army was an extremely brave and fierce army that had fought for the empire. To be able to retire alive was an extremely heroic matter, so this veteran was given such treatment. Even though the Gu clan had declined, no one dared to touch them. Of course, this was also because the old master of the Gu clan was still shining on people. If the old master of the Gu clan were to fall, then there would be nothing left. Who knew what would happen? Li Zongjio also knew about the matters of the Gu clan. In his previous life, he had even admired the old master of the Gu clan very much. To be able to go on the battlefield, a true and extremely cruel one, and to be able to endure such bloodshed, one was definitely not a simple person. Moreover, the old master of the Gu clan had lived an honest life and had done many good deeds. Originally, with this old man's meritorious service, after retirement, he could easily get an official position or become a consultant or something. However, he just had to return to Luoxia City, a village that belonged to him, to enjoy his old age in peace. In his previous life, there was not much news about the old master. Ever since Li Zongjio had fled, it was said that the old master of the Gu clan had passed away not long after. This was a great pity. Li Zongjio had more or less guessed the Gu clan's intentions for coming here. Let's go. Li Zongjio pushed open the door and took the lead to walk towards the side hall. In this side hall, there was already a simple and honest-looking, burly man waiting. When he saw Li Zongjio's arrival, the man's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. Such a small person killed Sun Jinglei of the Sun clan? Although Li Zongjio was very suspicious, the task given by the patriarch had to be completed. But young hero Li Zongjio, my patriarch wants to invite you to his residence. Gu Man said, his voice was as deep as a bell. Hearing this, Li Zongjio wanted to directly cover his ears, fearing that this guy's saliva would spray on him. Let's go. Li Zongjio said directly. When Gu Man heard this, he was stunned. This Li Zongjio was actually so easy to get rid of. He did not even say anything, and Li Zongjio had already agreed. Originally, Gu Man had wanted to prepare the conditions and use threats and promises to entice Li Zongjio. However, Li Zongjio's straightforwardness made Gu Man have a whole new level of respect for Li Zongjio. This was very satisfying. At least it was better than those hesitant women. Alright, you are straightforward enough. If you need me, Li Zongjio, in the future, just call me. Gu Man? When Li Zongjio heard this name, he looked at the person in front of him in surprise. In his previous life, there was a period of time when Li Zongjio had also heard of the name Gu Man. At the age of 50, he had become an ancestor-level expert. However, he had also made quite a name for himself. Being able to become an ancestor-level expert at the age of 50 was already quite a feat. Who would have thought that the expert in front of him would be this simple and honest guy in front of him? Alright, that's what you said? Li Zongjio said. There was no need to waste the favor of a future ancestor-level expert. Although Li Zongjio was a sovereign-level expert in his previous life, he still could not recover to that level of strength. If he wanted to do it again, although it would not take 3,000 years, it would take at least a few hundred years. It would also be very difficult to succeed. That realm was not so easy to reach. There were too many secrets in this world, and they were also frightening beyond one's imagination. Even Li Zongjio, who was a sovereign-level expert, had not discovered some of the true secrets of the Shanggu continent. This meant that his realm was far from enough. Li Zongjio and Gu Man went together. As for Li Gui, he once again became the substitute bodyguard and followed beside Li Zongjio. Before Gu Man left, she took a look at her surroundings. Why didn't he see the powerful old man that everyone was talking about? Although Li Zongjio had killed Mu Yuan, many people did not dare to believe it. Most of the rumors said that Mu Yuan had died because of his fight with Lin Sung. Chapter 41. That old man must have been invited by the Li family with a large sum of money. Originally, they wanted to serve the old man well, but it seemed that Z did not need to do so for the time being. Gu Man did not want to do so many things, so he led Li Zongjio and Li Gui to the carriage and returned to the Gu family's courtyard. The Gu family's exterior looked simple and plain. The black and white walls were neat and uniform. This style gave people a sense of competence. Li Zongjio and the other two got off the carriage and observed the situation around the Gu family. Li Zongjio's heart could not help but tremble. He did not expect that the Gu family, one of the 4 great families, would be so low-key. This was also the first time that Li Zongjio came to the Gu family's territory. This way, please. Gu Man said and led Li Zongjio and Li Gui through a winding path. In front of them was a bamboo garden. At this time, there were many guards and servants outside the bamboo garden. All of them were pacing back and forth. This is the old master's resting place. If you are not invited, please wait outside. Gu Man said. This meant that no one was allowed to enter without permission. That meant that Li Zongjio could not enter. Originally, with Li Zongjio's bad temper, If you invited me and blocked my people outside, wouldn't that be stepping on my head and shitting on my head? However, Li Zongjio also knew about the situation of these people. The entire Gu family did not have any extravagant atmosphere. From top to bottom, it gave people a sense of competence. In such an environment, there was no situation where people looked down on people. It should be inconvenient, so Li Zongjio temporarily put this matter aside. Although Li Zongjio was arrogant, he was not an unreasonable person. Under normal circumstances, reasoning was one thing. As long as you did not offend me, I would reason with you. But to be reasonable, if you want to infringe on my interests, then Li Zongjio will use his fists to reason with you. You stay here first. Li Zongjio said. There was some worry in Li Gui's eyes. After all, this was the Gu family's territory. Li Zongjio had just stood at the heart of the storm yesterday. If something happened and he didn't know anything, it would be very bad. Brother, don't worry. I can guarantee that your young master is absolutely safe in the Gu family. Otherwise, you can chop my head off. Gu Man roared. If you don't believe me, then I will fight you with my life. This caused Li Gui to roll his eyes. Who knows if your words are true or not? However, since even Li Zongjio had spoken, he would wait here for a while. If something really happened, then Li Gui would risk his life to bring Li Zongjio out. Please come in. Li Zongjio was brought to a house by Gu Man. There were some precious medicinal herbs planted around the house. Li Zongjio could see some of them. Even in the Luoxia city's market, he couldn't find any of them. There seemed to be many people gathered in the house. Is this Mr. Li? He is younger than I thought. Even before he entered, a faint fragrance wafted over. This fragrance easily caused one to let down the guard in one's heart. At the same time, the other party's voice also gave one a numbing feeling, easily causing one to let down the guard in one's heart. My name is Gu Yanhong. I am the housekeeper of the Gu family. Gu Yanhong? Li Zongjio raised his head and looked at the woman in front of him. She had a full body and was full of charm. She was Li Zongjio's type. However, Li Zongjio was still a teenager. It was not suitable for him. Li Zongjio had heard of Gu Yanhong's name in his previous life. However, his understanding of this person stopped at the level of hearing. It was said that Gu Yanhong was not the blood of the Gu family. She was an abandoned baby picked up by the old man on the battlefield. She was the old man's adopted daughter. He did not expect her to become the housekeeper of the Gu family. Just say it. Li Zongjio said indifferently. Gu Yanhong looked at the young man in front of her very curiously. It was said that the storm yesterday was caused by this young man. To be able to cause such a big storm and persevere in the storm without collapsing, this showed that Li Zongjio was not an ordinary person. Our old man's old illness has relapsed. If you can treat him, our Gu family will thank you greatly. After saying that, Gu Yanhong also walked in with Li Zongjio. Gu Man did not enter but stood at the door to guard. This was old Master Gu's room, so the security must be very tight. Moreover, Gu Man did not know anything about medicine. Therefore, he could only shoulder the responsibility of a guard. When Li Zongjio entered the room, he saw at least 5 groups of people sitting in the room. After a little surprise, Li Zongjio also sat in an empty seat. He did not communicate with these people. These 5 people were all sitting in their own seats. Some of them should be famous doctors within 100 miles of Luoxia City. I have no choice but to call you here in a hurry today. If we have disturbed you in any way, please forgive us. Gu Yanhong said. After saying that, she also bowed slightly. Some old men also quickly stood up and cupped their hands. Chief Butler, you are too polite. It is our duty to treat people. The first one to speak was the hall master of the Huichun Hall. The hall master of the Huichun Hall was known as the Miracle Doctor. Within 100 miles, he was quite famous. It was said that when this old man treated people, he would often burn a piece of talisman paper and let the patient drink it. After a few days, the patient would either die or recover. He still had some skills. Today's matter, regardless of success or failure, I hope that you masters will not spread this matter. Gu Yanhong said. Although she was beautiful and had a sweet voice, it still made people feel a chill on their skin and their bodies couldn't help but tremble. If there was a problem, it was obvious that they could feel the cold, murderous aura mixed in it. Treating the old master's illness is naturally not a problem. However, the few of us are all famous doctors within a radius of 100 miles. It is only right for us to gather together. But Chief Butler, who is this kid? Does he know how to treat people? Why should he be on the same level as us? If Chief Butler thinks that I, the Huichun Medicine King, am on the same level as this ignorant kid, then I will not say anything even if my hands are cut off. An old man in a black and white striped linen robe stood up and said, "Usually, on such occasions, there would be people who did not know what was good for them and would suddenly make things difficult." Li Zongjio was still playing with the teacup lid in his hand when he suddenly felt that the surrounding people's eyes were focused on him. "Wait, what? Are you talking about me?" Li Zongjio seemed to have just reacted. Was this old man tired of living? He actually dared to play such a trick on him? "Kid, this old man is not talented, but I am familiar with the 100 herbs and 1,000 classics. I can recite it backwards. I can identify 20,000 kinds of medicinal herbs. I have practiced medicine for 10 years and cured countless people. It can be said that my merits are boundless. How many books have you read and how many people have you saved? What right do you have to sit here?" The Huichun Medicine King pointed at Li Zongjio and spoke word by word. Although he did not scold him, his aura was overbearing. The whole place was silent. Nobody spoke up for Li Zongjio. Even the other old men snorted and turned their heads away coldly, as if they were not willing to look at Li Zongjio. The Huichun Medicine King was very pleased with himself. As the saying went, there was no first place in literature. In the medical world, there was naturally no first place. He had deliberately spoken about his own experiences. It felt as if he had gained the upper hand by boasting. "Now these people know how powerful I am. Do you know how to write the word death?" Li Zongjio looked into the Huichun Medicine King's eyes and asked seriously. Chapter 42. Do you even know how to write the word death? Of course, the heaven-reversing Medicine King knew that Li Zongjio wasn't really asking him how to write the word. Instead, he was threatening him. Li Zongjio wanted to kill him and then threaten him. Luoxia City wasn't big, but it wasn't small either. Some things spread very quickly in certain circles, but in the medical world, the speed of transmission was still a little slow. Therefore, Li Zongjio's reputation hadn't spread here yet. They just felt a little unbalanced when they saw such a young man sitting on the same level as them. The more serious ones would even think that their reputation had been insulted. This was very puzzling. However, this feeling was normal. They were able to receive such grand treatment from the Gu family because of their own standards and experience. And Li Zongjio, this young kid, must have some connections to get in through the back door. When this person was cured and went out to say that he had a part in it, wouldn't that make people very unhappy? Therefore, they had to kick Li Zongjio out of the game first. However, Li Zongjio was amenable to coaxing, but not coercion. Moreover, these old things dared to make trouble for him. This was a little too stupid. Li Zongjio was the best at dealing with people who wanted to show off. Where did this little brat come from? Is this how your elders taught you? The heaven-reversing Medicine King's face was angry, and his aura suddenly burst out. It felt like an elder teaching a junior a lesson. "Huh?" Li Zongjio immediately returned a sharp look. The energy in his body instantly condensed in his body. With just a glare, the heaven-reversing Medicine King was directly sent flying by an invisible aura. Bang! A mouthful of blood spurted out. This time, the heaven-reversing Medicine King instantly fell to the ground. There was a trace of horror in his eyes. He never thought that this kid would dare to attack directly. Gu Yanhong's eyes also flashed. She never thought that Li Zongjio would be so disrespectful. Wasn't he making things difficult for her? However, Li Zongjio's move just now was quite a brilliant move. Without a certain amount of research on elemental energy, it was impossible to achieve such a level. "You dare to fight? The Gu family invited us here to treat your illness. Young man, if you want to prove your strength, then please show us your medical skills." That's what a boorish man would do. An old man who looked like he was afraid of being beaten stood up and pointed at Li Zongjio. After all, in the minds of ordinary people, they were a group of doctors. If you wanted to compete with them in martial arts, it would be extremely inappropriate. If you wanted to compete, you would have to use your medical skills to subdue them. However, it was obvious that Li Zongjio did not want to compete with them in medical skills. Compete in medical skills? Who do you think you are? If you continue to stir up trouble, I'll strip all of you naked and throw you out. Li Zongjio said disdainfully. It was just a small punishment just now, but these people did not seem to be very obedient. They still wanted to force themselves to be pretentious. Mr. Li, please calm down. Gu Yanhong finally spoke at this time. You may not know, but this is the young master of the Li family, Mr. Li Zongjio. Yesterday, Mr. Li defeated Master Wang Lu in the medicine refining square. Originally, Grandmaster Wang Lu was the one they wanted to invite, but later, he was defeated by Li Zongjio and was directly captured by Li Zongjio. Therefore, they had no choice but to invite Li Zongjio. It seemed that Li Zongjio's strength was more powerful than Li Zongjio's. Defeated Wang Lu? The young man who defeated Wang Lu? In terms of alchemists, they were naturally one level higher than them. However, there were specializations in this field. Most of the alchemists refined pills that were targeted at increasing one's cultivation base. There were very few alchemists who specialized in researching how to treat illnesses and refining pills that were targeted at treating illnesses. This was because they didn't make any money. However, Old Master Gu's condition was critical, so they had no choice but to summon these doctors. As a Grade 2 advanced alchemist, Wang Lu was naturally surprised by Li Zongjio's ability to treat illnesses. However, even though he knew that Li Zongjio had captured him, he still invited Li Zongjio over. However, according to common sense, Li Zongjio's strength had been questioned. No matter what, he should have used his medical skills to convince these people. Who would have thought that Li Zongjio would directly make a move? The so-called heaven-reversing medicine king, who was lying on the ground, was directly knocked out by Li Zongjio's aura. He did not wake up, but even if he did, there was no need to do anything. It's you, the arrogant young master of the Li family. The other four people were extremely shocked. Gu Yanhong did not know whether it was the right decision to invite Li Zongjio over. After all, Li Zongjio directly crippled a doctor. Yes, is there anyone else who wants to compete in medical skills now? Hearing Li Zongjio's question, these people did not dare to speak. Although they were older and seemed to be very qualified, in front of the young master of the Li family, they were still inferior. After all, they were just a group of traveling doctors. The Gu family could gather them. Then the Li family would be able to destroy them all. No one would have thought that this seemingly weak young man actually had such a big background. After knowing Li Zongjio's background, even if Li Zongjio was a real waste, they did not dare to say anything. If everyone was a disciple of a big family, it would not be a big deal to talk and ridicule each other. But these traveling doctors relied on their skills. Sometimes, they also needed a big mountain to support them. The Li family was such a big mountain, and so was the Gu family. That was why they came here so enthusiastically to treat Old Man Gu's illness for free. Everyone, please come in. Gu Yanhong looked around. After seeing that these people were obedient, she led the 5 people into the room. They saw an old man in white lying in a freezer. Inside the freezer, one could see that there were some fiery red traces spreading on the old man's skin. This was an extremely potent fire poison. If not for the cold air emitted by the ice chest, this fire poison would have easily engulfed the old man's veins and skin. Such a terrifying scene was truly shocking to the onlookers. The fire poison was flowing in the body, and he was enduring the burning pain at every moment. This was not something that an ordinary person could endure. However, although the old man's body was thin, he persisted and did not give up. If it was an ordinary person, they would have already given up on the will to live and directly died. That might be a better ending. Our family's old man suffered from sequelae from his military service. Everyone, who can cure him? Chapter 43. The old man was still able to endure such a strong fire poison. His perseverance was extraordinary. If I'm not wrong, he was injured by the fire poison of the golden crystal Yuan lion, a third-grade primordial beast. After all, the hall master of the rejuvenation hall had practiced medicine for many years and was knowledgeable. He was able to detect it just by judging through the freezer. Yes, hall master's medical skills are indeed profound. Gu Yanhong's eyes were also filled with joy. He could directly see the old man's condition. His judgment might really have a way. Although they had invited some alchemists over, they discovered that the alchemists were only able to refine some pills to control the fire poison. They were not able to truly remove the fire poison. Therefore, they took an unconventional approach this time and gathered these old doctors. Although they weren't very good at refining pills, they definitely had treatment experience in this area. I've seen similar fire poison before, but it wasn't as strong as this. It's so tenacious. It seems that the fire poison has been deeply rooted. The hall master of the rejuvenation hall said in a deep voice. The people behind him seemed to have stopped there. The hall master of the rejuvenation hall was the most skilled one. However, these people more or less had their own opinions. The power of the fire poison has already attacked the heart. It's not impossible to remove it, but the price may be much more serious and it will take a long time. I don't know if the old man can withstand it. After a few people discussed in detail, the hall master of the rejuvenation hall stepped forward and said, "Hall master, please speak. No matter what, our Gu family will never give up." Gu Yanhong said quickly. The hall master of the rejuvenation hall's medical skills were really excellent. They could discuss a certain countermeasure. First, open the freezer. I'll use the 9 lines needle technique to temporarily seal the old man's qi and blood. In this way, we can effectively stop the spread of the fire poison. The hall master of the rejuvenation hall said. At the same time, he stroked his mustache and seemed to glance at Li Zongjio, who was not far away, with a strange gaze. This needle technique is a doctor's secret. Those who don't understand it can leave. Otherwise, they will tarnish my set of needle techniques. His words were clearly aimed at Li Zongjio. This put Gu Yanhong in a dilemma. The hall master of Huichun Hall was confident that he could cure old master Li Zongjio, so naturally, he had to follow Gu Yanhong's instructions. However, Li Zongjio's identity was not simple. If he was angered, it was obviously not easy to deal with. After careful consideration, for the sake of old master Li's life, he had to ask Li Zongjio to leave first. 9 elements acupuncture technique? Is this your treatment method? If you really use this set of needle techniques on old Master Gu, woman, you can just wait to collect his corpse tomorrow. You don't need this freezer anymore. Just change it into a coffin. Li Zongjio said disdainfully after he finished speaking. What the hell? This quack doctor, who pretended to know something, actually wanted to use such an inferior trick to remove the power of fire poison. If the 9-element needle technique had landed on old man Gu's body, the power of the fire poison would have burned the old man's body to ashes in the blink of an eye. When that happened, he would probably know how to write the word regret. Young man, although you are the young master of the Li family and proficient in alchemy, in terms of medical skills, it is not up to you to make trouble here. My 9 elements acupuncture technique promotes blood circulation, removes blood stasis, and clears the mind and improves eyesight. It is one of the 5 acupuncture techniques. How dare you question the 9 elements acupuncture technique? Hearing Li Zongjio's words, the hall master of Huichun Hall suddenly exploded on the spot like a kerosene can being ignited. He almost wanted to fight Li Zongjio to prove that his acupuncture technique was absolutely safe. Otherwise, if Gu Yanhong thought that he was going to kill the old man of the Gu family, he would be dead. Oh, you can have a try. You can have a try. Li Zongjio spread his hands. Let me see what kind of power your acupuncture technique, which outsiders can't see, has. In fact, the hall master of Huichun Hall also knew in his heart that when his acupuncture technique fell, it would definitely irritate the fire poison in old Master Gu's body. However, as long as old Master Gu's body could withstand it, there would be no problem. However, after being pointed out by Li Zongjio, he directly felt that he didn't dare to do it. If he really did it and old Master Gu died, he wouldn't be able to leave here alive. Then tell me this fire poison is like a maggot in the bone. How can it be cured? The hall master of Hui Chun Hall said. Since Li Zongjio was so capable, then you come, let's see who is better, you or me. If Li Zongjio couldn't give a reason, then he was deliberately making trouble. Gu Yanhong also looked at Li Zongjio. After all, his vision was too narrow. Li Zongjio couldn't help but shake his head. Then he walked forward. In Luoxia City, even a third-grade metabeast was extremely rare, let alone a third-grade metabeast, the golden crystal metalion. The fire poison has already entered the body, even to the bone marrow. Since that's the case, the best way is to refine it. Li Zongjio took a glance and said. Unexpectedly, as soon as these words came out, the hall master of Huichun Hall and a few of the old doctors in the pharmacy directly laughed out loud. Huh, young people are young after all. Before you refine pills in the future, you must be clear about what is poison and what is body. Refining the fire poison for your own use, your idea is really smart, really smart. If it's the Nantian Elixir King, it might be possible. With the Elixir King's strength, refining a 5th-grade breath-nourishing corroding pill should be no problem. The Nantian Elixir King was one of the 4 great Elixir Kings of the Xingyan dynasty. Known as the Sky of the southern part of the dynasty, he was given the title of Nantian Elixir King. The Elixir King who could refine a 5th-grade elixir pill was rare even in the dynasty. If they could invite such a person to help, then any elixir pill could indeed cure Old Man Gu's injury. However, such a person could only be in existence that they could only look up to. Speaking of this, these old doctors were obviously mocking Li Zongjio. Even a child wouldn't be able to come up with such a method. It was as if they were saying, what if I'm poisoned? Then you should refine the poison and assimilate it into your body. What if I'm stabbed? Are you saying that you should assimilate the knife into your body? Only a retard would say something like that. They had already given Li Zongjio enough face by not directly scolding him. At this moment, even Gu Yanhong could tell that something was wrong, because Li Zongjio's words were very amateurish. This was simply impossible. Li Zongjio, could it be that he was here to cause trouble? Chapter 44. Gu Yanhong took a deep breath. No matter what, she had to give it a try. She had to stabilize Old Man Gu's injuries first. Otherwise, if something unexpected happened to him, what should she do? She had no idea at all. Perhaps the Gu family would directly collapse. It was hard to say. Mr. Li, since the hall master has thought of a way first, please perform the needle technique first, Gu Yanhong said. Gu Yanhong didn't say anything to Li Zongjio. In fact, Li Zongjio did not really care about Old Man Gu's life or death. Although he admired her spirit, there was no need for him to save her just because he admired her. However, for the sake of his Li family situation and to carry out further expansion, he had to take over the Gu family first. All right, everyone, help me stabilize Old Man Gu's situation. The hall master of the Rejuvenation Hall said. The rest of the people also hurried forward. The 3 of them were scattered in a corner. During the treatment process, if anything went wrong, they had to stabilize the situation. Therefore, with these senior doctors on the scene, they could more or less control the situation. The hall master held the silver needles in his hand. He took a deep breath and came in front of Old Man Gu. His hand actually trembled slightly. Although he had seen many patients before, it was his first time diagnosing such a high-status patient. It would be best if he could get a good result from this injection. Otherwise, if anything went wrong, he would not be able to live past today. 9-element needle technique, blood recovery technique. Immediately, the silver needles fell. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The moment the needles fell, they directly penetrated the old man's skin and went 5 inches deep. In an instant, 9 silver needles appeared on the old man's chest. When these silver needles appeared, it could be seen that the fire poison in the old man's body seemed to be activated. Moreover, it was resisted by external factors and directly rushed toward the 9-element needle technique on his chest. Boom! The 9 silver needles in the hall master's hand also trembled violently at this moment. Not good. The hall master muttered in his heart. When the others saw this, they were also shocked. The hall master of the rejuvenation hall immediately added 3 more silver needles and directly used these silver needles to stimulate the other party's acupuncture points, releasing the last bit of life force in the body and using this life force to resist the fire poison. The silver needle was already red from the heat, and it looked as if it was about to melt. However, the hall master of the rejuvenation hall soon discovered that the state of the silver needle had stabilized. It was obvious that the method of using the potential within his body to resist the fire poison had worked. It's stable. He finally heaved a sigh of relief. If something were to happen in public, it would be over. Just as the hall master of the rejuvenation hall relaxed and a smile appeared on his face, he saw that the silver needle under his hand actually started to tremble. Swoosh! The silver needles were sent flying by the fire poison. At the same time, 9 streams of blood spurted out from the tiny holes and splashed onto the hall master of the rejuvenation hall. The needle is useless. Sizzle! The blood contained boiling power. Once it came into contact with the body, it would form a terrifying corrosive power. The hall master of the rejuvenation hall's face was directly burned into a mess. The other 3 people also hurriedly retreated. However, there were still some people who were splashed by the blood. In just a breath's time, there was a large hole on their body, and they looked extremely terrified. What, old master? When Gu Yanhong saw this scene, she was immediately at a loss. She picked up a towel and wanted to go up and suppress the old man's wound to prevent the blood from continuing to spurt out. However, at this moment, a hand directly pushed Gu Yanhong away. Li Zongjio took a step forward and teleported away. He raised his hand and circulated the yuan power in his body, and directly landed a palm on the old man's head. A mere fire poison, how dare you be so presumptuous? Li Zongjio let out a low roar. The terrifying yuan power in his body crazily surged out and directly suppressed the fire poison. At the tip of his finger, a wave of yuan power condensed into a flame. Immediately, he continuously pressed on the spot where the needle was inserted and instantly sealed the wound. Otherwise, there would be no time for the fire poison to be so arrogant. Go and prepare an alchemy furnace. I want the biggest one. Li Zongjio shouted. Gu Yanhong, who was in a daze, immediately woke up. Li Zongjio had made his move. The seemingly youngest and least experienced Li Zongjio was the true master. Not only did he know how to refine pills, he also knew how to treat illnesses. Okay, I'll go right away. The Gu family also had alchemy furnaces. With a command, Gu Man quickly carried an alchemy furnace and walked in. With a clang, she placed it on the ground. It was as tall as 2 people. Such a tall alchemy furnace could be considered a treasure. There was still a difference between an alchemy furnace and a medicinal cauldron. An alchemy furnace was about slow fire. When refining some simple pills in batches, an alchemy furnace would be used. Although it would take a long time, the pills produced in the furnace would be much better. On the other hand, a medicinal cauldron could be carried around by an alchemist. Usually, it was convenient to refine a small amount of pills. If the pills in the market were to be refined one by one, then these alchemists would be exhausted to death. Li Zongjio opened the lid of the alchemy furnace from a distance. He grabbed the old man and was about to throw him into the furnace. What are you doing? Gu Yanhong hurriedly shouted. This Li Zongjio looked like he wanted to kill the old man for money. How could he be so rude to this seriously ill old man? If you don't want him to die, then shut up. Li Zongjio shouted. Hearing Li Zongjio's harsh words, Gu Yanhong's heart trembled. This guy was young, but his tone was quite arrogant. It was the first time that someone had spoken to her in such a harsh tone. Gu Yanhong was so angry that her chest heaved up and down. However, at this moment, Li Zongjio was really trying his best to stabilize the old man's injury. Just now, Li Zongjio had deliberately not made a move to stop him. He wanted to let the old man bleed a little to make him more energetic. However, who would have thought that the idiot would actually use acupuncture to stimulate the old man's last bit of vitality? This was equivalent to a huge loss, which was not worth it at all. It was very likely that it would directly cut off the old man's last breath, which was why Li Zongjio was so anxious to make a move. Although Gu Yanhong was angry, she did not stop him. When Li Zongjio threw the old man into the alchemy furnace. At the same time, he took out a few fire attribute medicinal herbs from his space ring and threw them into the furnace one after another. "Fill it with water," Li Zongjio shouted. In the eyes of ordinary people, this was a shocking scene. Li Zongjio was going to cook the old man of the Gu family. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.